And we are underway. The 102nd season of Boston College football is underway. Sean Terry to return for West Virginia, and he's got it out past the 20. And that's where the Mountaineers will open on offense. Peter Sheehan had the special teams tackle. The quarterback for West Virginia, Brad Lewis. He started only 3 games last season. He's the man here in town under center for the Mountaineers. And as you look, Corey Ivy, their most responsible receiver. Antonio Brown, the flyer there with the speed. As you look at our Best Buy starting lineups, look to go to Brown earlier. And there is the offensive line. It's a veteran offensive line. The leader on that group, the right tackle, Tanner Russell out of Princeton, West Virginia. And so the Mountaineers will open up 1st and 10 from their own 21-yard line.
Appears to be a little bit of a clock problem. If you saw the seconds ticking by quickly, they wanted to set that exactly. Of course, a 22-yard run took 11 seconds. Wow, gonna have to work on that 40 time.
Single setback is Coburn, and Lewis will give it to him on 1st and 10, and he picks up about 3, just shy of the 25-yard line. Avon Coburn making the first rush. Frank Miserelli making the stop for Boston College. A look at the defense for the Eagles of Boston College. Antonio Garay, the main man in the middle there for BC up front. And the linebackers, Ryan Birch in the middle, who was the starting fullback a season ago. They give Colburn 3 on the play, and they'll call it 2nd and 7, and we have another stoppage.
Well, the reason for the hesitation, Steve, is again a clock problem. The clock should be running right now, and it isn't. It's stuck. Of course, what you're looking at right there is the brand new scoreboard that has just been implemented. In fact, they're working on it yesterday. Now you see the arm going. The clock is not started.
It's going to be great when it works. Pumped some $2 million in, and a lot of hype involved in the new scoreboard. Coach Nealon told us yesterday his only concern was that his players might be watching the instant replay on the board instead of being where they should be on the field.
Well, that's a look of being a little beleaguered right there. Of course, you start out and you're so excited, everybody's pumped up, and now something like this takes a little of the juice out of it. You see that tremendous career record, 6'10". Of course, he had 9 years at Bowling Green University prior to his 20-year stint here in Morgantown with the West Virginia Mountaineers.
Nealon has just about owned Boston College, and you can see Brad Lewis, he's really upset. This is really taking the crowd out of the game.
And this is interesting. The reason I say that, Steve, is that Brad Lewis, remember, this is the quarterback that the offensive coordinator Bill Legg pointed out to us. He said this is a football player. So this is, to use the Jim Kelly phrase, this is a linebacker playing quarterback. He's a tough guy. He's very emotional. He's somebody that they say needs to stay on more of an even keel.
His favorite NFL player growing up?
Todd Christensen.
I don't think that was it, Todd.
Was it?
It was Lawrence Taylor. I was backing up your point about the linebacker mentality there.
Rats.
But Todd Christensen was a close second, I believe.
Yeah, there you go.
We think the clock is working. We'll keep an eye. So it's still 2nd and 7. And they'll go to Coburn to try the left side. Cuts to the outside now. He's across the 30 and very close to a first down. Ralph Parrott, the strong safety, coming up to make the stop.
This is one of the reasons why, Steve, running backs now are short. You see his mother certainly excited about that with the initial first down. As he cuts to his left, he's in a situation to where most guys just have to lean in that direction, fall down, and get tackled for a 2-yard gain. He shows the cutting ability of his predecessor, that being number 20, Amos Zaraway. Now with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Coburn has the 2 carries for the 10 yards so far. And let's see if we can actually have consecutive plays without a clock problem. Out of the eye on 1st and 10 now from the 31-yard line. Here's Lewis off the play action. Brad Lewis will put it up for the first time this season, and he's got a man! And he's got it! It's Corey Ivy down to the 5-yard line. Right on the money to Ivy. 64 yards on the gain.
Steve, that was a great throw, and you had mentioned that they thought they were going to go to Antonio Brown, their speedster, but instead they take advantage in the secondary with him stride for stride as DJ Sutton, but he gets out about a yard, gets the separation. Steve, you're absolutely right. That throw couldn't have been better. Right on the money. You can see the reaction of Lewis. He is excited. first throw of the season goes for 64 yards. He's hoping that that's a portent of good things to come.
And it's now 29 consecutive games for Ivy with a reception. That's the 5th longest active streak in the country. On 1st and goal now from the 5-yard line. Single setback is Coburn. And they'll give it to him. He's got some space for a moment, and then he is gang tackled at the 4. Keith Levitt, the first Boston College Eagle to make the hit.
One of the things that Coburn has to learn as a youngster is that there are some times where you just have to lower your shoulder and go. I think that he reminds me a little bit of Barry Sanders in that way. You know, Barry Sanders makes all the terrific runs, but he also has a lot of tackles for loss and tackles at the line of scrimmage. There's sometimes the youngster has to realize, listen, sometimes it's not there, just get the 1 or 2 yards. 2nd and goal at the 4. Bill Legg, the offensive coordinator, on his checklist of things, score touchdown every time they're 1st and goal. We'll see. Here's a pitch left to Coburn, and he is brought down just shy of the goal line. And that'll bring up a 3rd and goal situation. Ramon Johnson, the free safety, making the stop for BC. Steve, I'm guessing in this situation with this offensive line, 4 returning starters from last year, this is definitely 4-down territory unless they fumble the ball. I think they're going to go for it here, obviously here on 3rd down, but if they don't get it, I'm thinking they got to give it a shot. Get this crowd involved. There you see Bill Legg, the offensive coordinator of West Virginia, pushing all the right buttons up to this point. And keep in mind, this is his first series as offensive coordinator as well. Here's a pass, and it's just out of the reach of Sean Burton, the tight end. Lewis a bit too high and strong on the throw. And what are you going to do on 4th and goal from the 1? You know what? I can't believe it. Seriously, I'm very, very surprised. You saw the ball between the goal line and the 1. You've got the 300-pounders up front. This is very surprising to me. I stand corrected, but I don't understand this. You're inside the 1. You got to give it a shot. If you don't get it, make him go 99 yards. John Ollinger on to attempt the field goal. And the chip shot is up, and it is good from 17 yards away. In the opener, West Virginia opens the scoring. They lead 3-0. Welcome back. West Virginia is on the board. But, Todd, it's only 3 instead of 7. You made an interesting point, Steve, at the break, saying that after coming off a 4-7 season, maybe they're not as cocky as they could be. But I'm thinking to myself, you got 4 returning offensive linemen, starters. You're inside the 1-yard line. You get arguably the best back in the Big East behind you. I'm very surprised they didn't take 2 shots at it. Todd James, the true freshman kicker, has kicked it off. Willie Green on the return for Boston College. And we'll get our first look at the Eagles offense. Anthony Nolan made the special teams stop. Tim Hasselbeck, they say he's pain-free. He played every game but 1 last season, but with pain. Had abdominal groin surgery, missed all the spring, but now he's pain-free. And a look at the guys he'll hand it off to and throw it to. Dedrick DeWalt, the go-to guy. And there's also a veteran offensive line led by Paul Zukowskis inside. 1st and 10 for Boston College, from trailing early by a score of 3-0. Ryan Utzler, the fullback, Cedric Washington, the tailback, but Hasselbeck to throw. And it's complete to Jamal Burke, the wide receiver, and he should have a 1st down. The defense for West Virginia, David Upchurch is the main man in the middle. He's bulked up a lot. I think they'd like to see him add some more weight, even more weight to what he already has. A look at the linebackers here. Grant Wiley is a freshman. They expect some big things out of Kyle Caden, one of the leaders, and Chris Edmonds, the big play guy. And this is that inexperienced secondary. Rick Sherrod has the most experience. That's only 10 college football games under his belt. We'll watch for Hasselbeck to try to take advantage of that inexperienced West Virginia secondary. Hasselbeck, second play, is going to throw again on 1st and 10. And again, it's Burke cutting across the middle. And he comes up just shy of another 1st down. Very, very surprising with regards to Boston College. You would have thought they'd pound it early on, but clearly, Steve, you made a very cogent point regarding the inexperience of West Virginia secondary. Look at the gap that he's giving Burke. That's a good 11 yards at the line of scrimmage. So you know what? We got a 1st down running the route on the other side. Let's give it another shot. And sure enough, completed 2 for 2 for Hasselbeck. Nice start. And a 2nd and 1. Name an offensive coordinator who doesn't like that call. They'll put it on the ground to try to pick up the 1st down. Cedric Washington, his 1st carry. For West Virginia, they have 7 defensive players making their 1st start.
So of the 4 starters that return with experience, 2 have changed position. That sounds like a defense in disarray.
I don't think that Dana Bible, the offensive coordinator of Boston College, isn't cognizant of that. He comes right out and throws the ball to everybody's surprise because they're saying to themselves, look, they've got 3 studs up front, 2 of them that are probably going to be pros. Why don't they run right off the bat? Instead, they throw. They've got West Virginia off balance.
These are college kids. Makes sense. They'd be nervous playing here at home. And that pass was nearly intercepted. Jamal Burke was the intended receiver. Sean Hackett and Richard Bryant came over, the corner and the safety, to make the hit and force the incompletion.
You know what they say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on. What about the 3rd time? All right, we're getting it right the 3rd time.
Gaining some valuable experience here on the first series.
Did not give him the same gap. Able to come over and break up the play was Bryant, forcing a 2nd and long.
2nd and 10. 2 receivers split out to the left, single setback. And here's Hasselbeck to throw. Across the middle. That one is intercepted. It's picked off at the 45 by Brian King, the redshirt freshman. And that will give a secondary some experience and some confidence right there.
What they're trying to do is they're trying to isolate their tight end Guazzo on Edmonds. They get what they want, but the throw is underneath. Take a look right here. Coming underneath, the ball is thrown short, and Edmonds makes a great play, cuts upfield. He cuts off the wrong foot right there. Otherwise, he would have had a lot of yardage. Edmonds, of course, is known as a rush backer. He's the guy that they have designed just to get sacks, but instead he shows his coverage skills and shows some pretty good hands. A big turnover for the Mountaineers. Beg
your pardon, it was Chris Edmonds, the senior out of Pittsburgh, who made that interception. And again, all the momentum now with West Virginia on the board, looking for more. This time they give it to the fullback, Wes Hours. He's quite a story. We'll tell you about that in a bit. Toledo, we understand, is on the board. Get the update from Brian Kenny.
Yes, Steve, indeed. We've got Penn State off the humbling loss to USC, and here come the Rockets. Great blocking up front. Chester Taylor pulls a guy in with him. 13-yard touchdown. Rockets leading Penn State 7-0 in the first. Steve?
All right, Brian, thanks. Keep us posted. Updates throughout.
Not the most auspicious beginning for the Nittany Lions, is it, Steve?
A lot of big teams struggling early on in the season. On 2nd down and 8 now, they give us to Colburn, and you hear the reaction from the crowd as he has bounced back.
Ryan Birch is the man who makes that stick. Ryan Birch was on the defensive line last year and also played some fullback, but they needed some help after Frank Chamberlain, their star middle linebacker, graduated. So they asked Birch to go to the middle, and if that play is any indication, he's going to do a nice job. That's a good stick. Clinic. Face the numbers.
You got anything else?
No, I
was waiting for
I'm trying to help you, man. It's a whole, got to get you into that football nomenclature.
Put a hat on him?
There you go. Beautiful.
3rd down and 7 now. Just shy of midfield. Out of the shotgun. Here's Brad Lewis. All sorts of time. Looked right to the dump off and checked off, and instead connects with Phil Braxton, his wide receiver out of Vanderbilt, Pennsylvania.
Awful lot of time to throw, and of course that's a name that's familiar to West Virginia fans. He is the nephew of the former great running back and now deceased Jim Braxton, who, of course, those of you that follow pro football remember Jim Braxton was the fullback for O.J. Simpson the year he rushed for 2,000 yards along with the Electric Company. But Boston College gave Lewis far too much time to throw.
That was a pickup of 15 yards. Lewis to Braxton on 1st and 10 now at the 36. They send the wide receiver Antonio Brown in motion off the play action. Lewis tried to dump underneath and nearly intercepted, and should have been intercepted. It was in the hands of the defensive back for Boston College.
Curtis Bolden is the one who dropped the interception. Here's the situation. Lewis is about to get sacked, and instead he decides to get rid of it instead of taking the sack. This is a big, strong guy, 220 pounds. Shows the arm strength right here. A little bit of a happy feet, gets rid of it, throws right between the 2 and the 6, but Bolden just cannot hold on to it. In fact, look at, he comes across, and I think he's anticipating making a hit. Instead, the ball's right in his chest, and he can't hang on. Break for West Virginia.
Bolden seeing some action. Marco Williams and Jerome Ledbetter, 2 linebackers, both injured in practice. Antonio Brown has it, and he's out of bounds just shy of the 20-yard line. A flag on the play.
Seeing a lot of that recently. Florida, of course, made that famous with their wide receivers going in motion, getting the quick handoff.
Referee today is John Smith. The umpire, Bruce Palmer. And the linesman, Matthew Fitzgerald, and we'll get the call. Holding the indication. That's one way of stopping a drive. I mentioned the defense. In the front seven for Boston College and their struggles, Marco Williams and Jerome Ledbetter both play the same position. They both went down with knee injuries this week in practice. And so we'll see a lot of Curtis Bolden, who nearly had that interception, and Josh Ott as well, a redshirt freshman.
Steve, that ends up being nearly a 30-yard swing.
There's a gain of 14 on the play, and now with the penalty.
Of course, Coach Tom O'Brien has to be happy about that. Everything going West Virginia's way early, and of course now, after they just missed the interception, get a huge, huge turnover. A huge penalty, rather. I think it was a personal foul, Steve. I don't think it was a hold.
It might have been. Could have been both. With 2 penalties.
So they took the personal foul.
Yeah.
Obviously, took the extra yardage.
The ball just over the 45.
Brings up a 2nd down and 29.
Bill Legg was telling us that when he has 2nd and 3 or 3rd and 2, everybody's got an idea of what to do. He said 2nd and 28. Suddenly he's an orphan.
Single setback, and here's Lewis to throw. He's got immediate pressure. They tried to set up the screen to Avon Coburn, and Lewis might have rushed it a bit. Steve Martin had the pressure. You're not going to hit me with the Steve Martin line there, are you?
No. There's Bill Legg right there, the offensive coordinator. Very animated young man and very excited. This is his first year as the offensive coordinator for West Virginia, and he was very excited about the tools that he had to work with. Veteran wide receivers and, of course, having Coburn back there. And he really believes in his quarterback, Lewis. In fact, he told us, I asked him, I said, he reminds me a little bit of Hostetler in terms of his toughness, and he said this kid might be tougher. Wow.
See some toughness here on 3rd and 28. Might have to absorb a hit. He said they play it safe. The draw to Coburn. Give him a couple of yards out to the 41-yard line, and they'll look to punt it away for the first time this afternoon. As we approach 8 minutes left here in the first, West Virginia had a 1st and goal situation and had to settle for a field goal, and that's the 3-0 that you see.
And that penalty was absolutely huge. They had all the momentum going their way. Boston College able now to stuff them here. They'll have decent field position coming back, and they can reestablish themselves on offense.
Mark Fazzolari, one of the premier punters in the Big East, will kick it away. Dedrick DeWalt fumbled the football, and West Virginia says they have it. They do at the 15-yard line. A critical mistake by DeWalt of Boston College.
It appeared that the wide receiver, Carlos Osegueda, was the one that came up with the fumble. But right here, DeWalt has to be aware of how close people are. He never had it. He just absolutely never had it. There's Osegueda right on top of the ball. Another turnover, and Tom O'Brien just can't be very happy about it. Just catch the ball is all he's asking.
2nd turnover already for Boston College after the 40-yard punt. And the West Virginia offense struts right back onto the field. Brad Lewis under center, 2 tight ends out to the left. They'll give it to Coburn. Around the left side, cuts the corner, and he's knocked out of bounds after a pickup of maybe 1 on the play, and there is a flag as well. Ralph Parent forced him out.
This too might come back as a hold.
Number 24, Ralph Parent.
It will. Virginia Tech finally in action. Here's Brian Kenny back in the studio. Brian.
Yes, indeed, Steve. Virginia Tech only beat Akron by a field goal back in '96. This time, Michael Vick, after converting a 3rd and 20 in the air, will, guess what, take off and run with this one, Vick. Easily, again, lightninged out against Georgia Tech. 7-0 leading Akron right now, Steve.
All right, Brian, thanks very much. On September 30th, Boston College will get a good look at Michael Vick and Virginia Tech.
You know, you talked a little bit earlier, Steve, about Wes Hours, their 290-pound fullback. Watch here, number 40 on the block. Once the man goes down and you can see his hands on top, that's what the official sees, and that's when the flag comes out. If he has his hands and he pulls them up, it's okay, but instead his hands around the shoulder, and that's the official call.
Penalty leads to 1st and 21. There's another flag on the play. Whistle right after the snap. Be a motion penalty with 7:28 left here in the first. We expect a lot of penalties.
False start against the offense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Steve, we talked a little bit about Wes Hours, the fullback, arguably the biggest fullback that I know of since Refrigerator Perry. He was an offensive guard, he was a defensive tackle, but the one thing he is a coach's dream. Coach Don Nalen mentioned the fact that this young man is willing to play any place at any time and doesn't care if he gets the football. Terrific blocker.
Out of the eye now on 1st and 26 after consecutive penalties. Lewis to throw. He's got some time now. He does, and he's spun around and taken down by Scott Bradley for the sack. Wes Hours, who tried to make the block there, some contact there. But see, his position, offensive lineman, has changed. His uniform number, 46, has changed. And see his weight, 290? That has changed also. He's wearing uniform number 40. He's now a fullback. And as for his weight, we followed him into the weight room. We're not going to believe any media guide. And we're all the way up to 296.6 pounds for a fullback. Wes Hours.
I think the phrase for that is a load.
2nd and 32. Has great hands for a big man, they say as well. Avon Coburn on the carry before Sean Guthrie wrapped him up.
Well, Steve, you called it well when you said that these first games seem to have a myriad of penalties, and certainly West Virginia has plagued itself with them. Here, having to get to the 5-yard line for the first down, I'm thinking that they should go out of the shotgun, run the hook routes, get another 10 yards, and put themselves in field goal position. Right now, you're looking at a 50-yarder, and I think that's a little bit out of the range for the West Virginia place kicker.
Out of the shotgun now on 3rd and 29, as you would expect. And there's the throw, and it was blocked at the line of scrimmage and knocked down to the turf. Ramon Johnson appeared to block it at the line of scrimmage. So West Virginia hurting themselves, mistakes by penalties. Boston College has hurt themselves. Already 2 turnovers in the first 9 minutes of the opener. And they will punt it away. Mark Fazzolari once again will give it a try, and Dedrick DeWalt will try it as well. DeWalt, the last chance he had to receive a punt, he fumbled it away. He's standing at the 10-yard line, looking to receive the punt.
Steve, we need to give a lot of credit here to the BC defense. Remember, the front four is brand new. Brand new, the front four for Boston College. They lost Chris Hovan, their superstar, and of course, their linebacker.
Offense. 5-yard
Frank Chamberlain.
Remains.
And the result is that they played very well here to stifle them after, getting down to the 20-yard line with the penalty, and then, of course, the fumbled punt. Instead of giving up a field goal, which I'm sure they would have conceded, now they forced them to punt. Of course, that was intentional to take the 5 yards, and Boston College could have opted to refuse the penalty, but instead they stick him back at the 38. Did I ever tell you my Sean Landetta theory on this punt?
No, I'd like to hear that, though.
All right.
DeWalt standing at the 10.
He said it's easier when it's closer.
Bad snap. Fazzolari had to take it off the turf, able to get it away, and it's down at the 9-yard line. And so Boston College will get another chance. They trail by 3 here in the first.
ESPN's presentation of college football is brought to you by Pep Boys, Cars Like Us, People Love Us, and by Universal Pictures, The Watcher. Starts September 8th at theaters everywhere.
Steve Levy, Todd Christensen, Dave Ryan, thanks for allowing us to be a part of your holiday weekend. Here, the Big East opener. West Virginia has opened the scoring with a 3-0 lead. And Boston College starting now from their own 9-yard line. And they give it to Cedric Washington. He's out ahead of the pile, and he's just shy of a first down. Rick Sherrard cut him off and knocked him down. Let's go downstairs to Dave Ryan. Dave.
All right, Steve, thanks. Antonio Garay is a key player in the BC defensive scheme after Chris Hovan is long gone off to the NFL and the Minnesota Vikings. He's got a twisted left knee, does Garay. They're going to reevaluate her halftime. Doesn't look too good for him now. By the way, guys, the defensive coordinator, very proud in his words of his team after stopping West Virginia after the fumble punt.
BC trying to stay out of those third and long situations. It's not a football that's loose, it's a helmet loose on the field as Washington was stopped by David Carter, And there it is. In the last 2 series, BC is at a 4th and 28 and a 4th and 34.
Goes to show that they're working hard, as is Kyle Caden, who, figuratively speaking, lost his head on that last play. He's the middle linebacker, number 45. Very, very smart young man. Defensive coordinator Steve Dunlap feels that he's like a coach on the field. One of only 3 juniors in the history of West Virginia to be named captain.
And that certainly is significant. On 3rd and 2, here's Hasselbeck going to throw. Screen out to the right for the first down of the fullback Ryan Utzler. And he picks up the necessary yardage, give him 4 on the first down. Got a good block from the running back Cedric Washington on Grant Wiley. Usually it's the other way around. This time it's the tailback blocking for the fullback.
Take a look at his number 2, 48. Have you ever noticed that? O.J. Anderson once said he had a theory on numbers, and they designated speed and possession. He said fullbacks now, a lot of the blocking fullbacks are either the high 30s or mid to high 40s.
I still want to.
46,
I still want to get back to the Sean Landeta story.
Oh, we fun again. I'll bring it up.
Coming up on 4 minutes to play here in the first. Hasselbeck faked it to the first guy and gave it to the second guy, and that guy is Cedric Washington. The workhorse for Boston College, Grant Wiley, made the stop. They were concerned about Wiley. They didn't know how much he would, with a lack of experience, the redshirt freshman, concerned how he would respond. A home game, pressure, Big East. He's made a couple of tackles early on in the football game.
Remember, he's replacing arguably the biggest star on defense for West Virginia last year, that being Barrett Green, 130 tackle guy who's now in the pros with the Detroit Lions. So they're asking a lot of Wiley.
2nd down and 8 now for BC. They trail 3-0 on an early field goal. Hasselbeck feeling the pressure, tried to escape it, could not. And there's Kyle Caden bringing him down.
That's a great play on the part of Caden, because now, as you pointed out, Hasselbeck, with his injury behind him, is much more mobile and much quicker. Caden able to drop him because there was a lot of green in the secondary. He certainly would have had the first down if he hadn't got past Caden.
Brings up a 3rd down and 7. The ball spotted at the 23-yard line. Out of the shotgun, Hasselbeck calling signals. Wide receivers split out to the right and left. Hasselbeck is creamed on the blitz. Everybody came, and David Carter got to him first, dropping him at the 12-yard line.
David Carter comes from the blind side, and there are just too many people to block. Whatever the blocking scheme that Boston College had set up, it did not account for Carter. Hasselbeck did not see him. Watch from the bottom of your screen. Here comes number 7, just completely unblocked. The fullback in that case comes out at the last minute, but it's just too late.
David Carter didn't play organized sports until his junior year in high school. Makes a pretty good play there. Antonio Brown calls for the fair catch, and West Virginia will take over at the 43-yard line, leading 3-0 when we come back to Morgantown.
ESPN's presentation of college football is brought to you by Acura. Introducing the all-new Acura CL Sports Coupe. And by Adidas.
Back in Morgantown. Last time BC and West Virginia played in a season opener here in Morgantown was 1971. West Virginia won 45-14 behind Pete Wood, rushing for a then record 214 yards for West Virginia. Even Coburn would take that, and Coburn pounds it out to the just shy of the 50-yard line. Let's check out what Nebraska's doing this early afternoon. Here's Brian Kenny.
Steve, number 1 Nebraska with 10 back on offense this year. One of them, Eric Crouch, first Nebraska drive, and there he goes. San Jose State, though, is marching. They're on the Nebraska 6. We'll keep you up to date, Steve.
All right, Brian, thank you. Final 2 minutes to play here in the first quarter.
Steve, you and I saw Nebraska at the end of the year down there in the Fiesta Bowl, and they really look like a juggernaut after they spanked Tennessee. I'm not surprised they're number 1 starting the season.
Here's Lewis to throw, and he's looking up top, and he's got him in. It's Antonio Brown on the catch. What a grab by Brown. Tough to get better coverage than that of Trevor White. He was with him step for step, but Brown went up and got it.
Well, you wouldn't think in the terms of Antonio Brown, who's about 5'9", 5'10", that he would have the vertical to do this, but you see it all the time. As you pointed out, White is right with him. He just runs it up. White's with him stride for stride. Now, at this point, White needs to adjust and not step back. Instead, Brown is the one that takes it at its highest point. White is too late in his jump. That's a great athletic play by Antonio Brown, and once again, a deep ball that has success for Lewis.
47 yards on the play. Two receivers out to the left. They line up in the eye behind Lewis, and they'll pitch it to Coburn. Took a step backwards and up to settle for the loss. And there is a flag on the play. Willie Poole made the stop.
Flag on the play.
And that was costly.
Offsides against the defense. The penalty is half the distance from the goal. It remains first down.
So another first and goal situation for West Virginia. There's more great college football for you tonight on ESPN2. It's Colorado State. That'll be a great matchup at 6 Eastern. Here on ESPN, a couple of ranked teams will go head-to-head. Southern Miss and Tennessee. And then the nightcap, Arizona and Utah at 9 Eastern. And the touchdown for Coburn. He's in from the 2-yard line. And West Virginia will open up their lead.
Brad Nell and Tanner Russell do an outstanding job creating a gap for Coburn. And once again, I'm really impressed with Coburn's feet. His ability to stop and start and find the gaps. He's a good little back.
John Ollinger on to attempt the extra point. The senior up and connects. 10-0 now in favor of West Virginia. Running the football effectively and passing the football effectively. The last time these two got together last season, there's a lot of bad blood in the West Virginia-Boston College game. West Virginia, great start, and then plays like this happen.
Pedro Serino, the safety, picks it up and goes 60-some yards for a touchdown. Here's Hasselbeck with a deep ball to DeWalt that goes the distance. That Corey Ivy fumble really turned the thing around for Boston College. They defeated West Virginia by 17 points. I think this is a real game of payback. We mentioned the word revenge a number of times where West Virginia's concerned. They kept playing it off, but I don't believe it, Steve. They're fired up coming into this one.
We had lunch yesterday with some of the West Virginia captains. It's sort of a tradition here. We're talking with Tanner Russell. That first touchdown that you saw by West Virginia against BC last year, that was on their very first drive. He said that might have been their best drive of the entire season. I mean, that's how good things started for them at Chestnut Hill, and then it all went down from there. Todd James is set to kick it off, the true freshman. And it's DeJuan Daniels at the 10. Cuts to the 20. Has a seam. He's out past the 30. And maybe a fumble. There's definitely a flag on the play. But by the way the crowd reacted, and the West Virginia sideline is pointing that they have the football indeed. The officials say otherwise, and Boston College will hang on to it. 41 seconds to play here in the first.
Well, it's definitely a hold that's going to move him back. Nothing's going right for BC at this point. First quarter has been a lot of mistakes for O'Brien's crew.
A couple of turnovers, now some penalties.
During the return, illegal block in the back and above the waist. Return team, 10 yards, and spotted a foul. First down.
Todd, it's certainly understandable to see two teams in an opener out of sync. Well, it looks like BC's more out of sync.
Certainly are, but they've got 3 more quarters to rectify it, and they've got the players to do it, too.
West Virginia, the 10-0 lead. We've got 41 seconds on our scoreboard. However, the new $2 million scoreboard has 0 seconds here. Willie Green checks in to the backfield for Boston College, but Hasselbeck will throw, and it's complete to Mike Guazzo, the tight end.
They like number 80. They think that he's going to be a player, a former wide receiver. He brings a lot of speed and quickness to the position that some of the other tight ends in the past don't. He's a bigger version of Pete Mitchell is what I had heard. He shows nice hands there, catching the ball between the hashes.
The coaching staff told us he has unique speed for his size. Former full-time wide receiver. Making it as a tight end now. On second and short, final play of the first quarter. Willie Green gets a chance, spelling Cedric Washington. Here in the final minutes of the first quarter, Rick Sherrod made the stop. It is a first down. He got enough for the first, and that is the official end of the first quarter of the first game of the season for these two squads. And West Virginia leads 10-0. Great quote by Don Nehlen heading into this season, his 21st at West Virginia. We're supposed to be lousy, so let's find out if we are. And here they have a 10-0 lead as we hit second quarter action. In the preseason Big East poll, West Virginia was picked 6th, Boston College 4th, behind Miami, Virginia Tech, and Syracuse. Pitt was 5th, Temple and Rutgers rounded out. Loose football, and let's see. Willie Green carried it, and it's a turnover. Again, third turnover of the game already for Boston College, and West Virginia will take over in great field position.
It's a bad decision on the part of Hasselbeck. The halfback wasn't ready. He got tripped up. And the flag, I believe, is going to be a personal foul. Watch the left of your screen. Starts in. Edmonds does a great job of forcing a little bit early, and Green wasn't waiting for it. It ricochets off his left shoulder, and of course there's nothing but blue shirts there. I think it may have been Edmonds that came up with the ball. There's Edmonds. He cuts inside the tackle, forces it quickly. That's a bad pitch. It's a little behind Green. It ricochets off the shoulder back.
Personal foul against the fumbling team. The penalty is a size.
Willie Green was upset about it at the end of the play. He shoved one of the players, and the officials saw it. And now half the distance to the goal line. Once again, what great field position for West Virginia.
They'll operate first and goal.
Steve, up to this point, West Virginia has been down to the 1, the 36, the 14, and then, of course, in that last series, they had a touchdown. Now they're down to the 6. They're definitely winning the battle of field position.
Bill Legg is loving this, the offensive coordinator, in his first quarter. Cooper Rigo on that carry, inched him closer. We get closer to Brian Kenny.
Hey, Steve, you know, Akron is a top contender in the MAC, 7-4 last year, but this is Michael Vick, and you have to wonder, can he be anywhere near as spectacular as he was last year? Oh, there you go. Vick back the other way, 63 yards, kept it himself, 14-3 in the second quarter, Steve.
Pretty electric player, but you already knew that. Second and goal from the 3. They hand it off again. Again, it's Rigo. And again, he is short of the goal line. Let's go on the field. Here's Dave Ryan. Dave.
Tim Hasselbeck will not be the quarterback for BC on this next series for the Eagles. Brian St. Pierre has a coach's plan for every series to begin the second quarter. He will get at least one series. If he does well, he'll stay in. Coach Tom O'Brien wants to make sure later in the season, if Tim Hasselbeck gets hurt, that Brian St. Pierre is ready to go in an emergency situation. We'll see him next up for BC.
All right, Dave, what will the score be, though, by the time he gets his hands on the football? As they look to sneak it with Brad Lewis, and he did not get in on third and goal.
Gee, Steve, what do you think they're going to do?
Originally, we would have thought they would have gone for it here. The crowd urging them to go for it, but in a similar situation on the first series, they elected to kick the chip shot field goal, and Ollinger connected from 18 yards away.
Well, all of the linemen are pointing in that direction. There hasn't been anybody come on the field that represents the kicking team, so it appears that they are.
Does score change that with a 10-0 lead? Does that make the difference? More of a take the gamble here with up 10?
Well, I certainly you feel a little bit more comfortable when you're up 10. But I think that this is a situation where, for whatever reason, Boston College is able to hold them here. That would be tremendous for them. You see Frank Spaziani, the defensive coordinator for Boston College. He has had his work cut out for him here in the first quarter because his team has been on the field, it seems like, almost the entire time.
Here we go, fourth and goal. 2 tight ends. And they're going to hand it off. And it's Rigo. And he's in for the touchdown. Cooper Rigo the junior out of New City, New York, scores the touchdown, and West Virginia now leads 16-0. Points off turnovers there for West Virginia.
Steve, I can't help but think that it's not coincidental that on both touchdown runs they went to the right side of the offensive line. And of course, in that case, that's Rick Gillum, Brad Nell, and Tanner Russell doing an outstanding job. You mentioned Tanner Russell earlier.
Hollinger on to connect for the extra point. And this has to be considered somewhat of a surprise early on. We're early in the second quarter, and West Virginia is putting it to Boston College. 17-0 Mountaineers. West Virginia enjoying a 17-0 lead here in front of the home folks. Playing at home so important for the Mountaineers. They have 7 home games on their schedule, and keep in mind last year the only 4 wins they had came right here. Lost every single road game. Todd James will put it in the air. Willie Green and Dewan Daniels are back deep for Boston College. BC would like to get something going. You could start with some decent field position. Green in the end zone, thought about it, and now thinks better of it and takes a knee, and they'll start 1st and 10 from the 20.
Well, the theme of this game certainly has been the turnovers up to this point. First is the great interception by Edmonds on a ball that was underthrown by Hasselbeck. DeWalt fumbles the punt. And then I don't know, it may have been the separation. They didn't have quite enough, or maybe it was just a bad pitch on the part of Hasselbeck. But all of those have led to West Virginia points. And Steve, certainly a contributing factor too has been the average starting field position. Wow. Boston College has had, it's just been awful for them, whereas West Virginia's had every opportunity. In fact, it's conceivable here that West Virginia probably could have about 28 points.
Funny you picked 28. That's the exact total of Boston College yards so far. See if Bryant St. Pierre can turn some of that around. Is this his series? Well, we get a couple of series to work with here as he hands off to the left side to Cedric Washington. Not much there.
Well, certainly in the case of St. Pierre, you're saying to yourself, couldn't I have come in with the score even or close? A lot of pressure on him now, down 17. But I like the idea that Tom O'Brien has, because so many times when the first guy gets all the repetitions, if a guy gets into a game situation, I don't care how much film he's watched, that's not like playing the game.
Washington so far, remember, a standout rusher, second in the Big East a season ago. Just 5 carries for 11 yards so far. Out of the shotgun. Here's St. Pierre looking to throw for the first time. He throws complete to Washington. He's knocked out of bounds by Brian King, short of the first down. In talking to the BC coaches about the philosophy in bringing in St. Pierre, really no matter what, Hasselbeck could be playing the greatest game of his life, and St. Pierre will see a series. They're so committed to that. They admitted that last year there was a point. It actually might have hurt them in a game. They didn't lose a game because of it, but it might have broken up the rhythm of Hasselbeck in the offense. But that's something they believe in strongly, and they will stick with no matter what. On 3rd down and 2. Lots of shifting on the offensive line. 2 receivers out to the right of Brian St. Pierre. Straight drop. Now feels the pressure and can't get away from it. He's dropped to the 17-yard line by William Perry.
Well, that's an aptly named defensive lineman, isn't it? William Perry, number 94, is able to just penetrate St. Pierre. Take a look at the loop move. Lineman falls down, and Perry is able to snag St. Pierre. Good line stunt there for West Virginia. And clearly the energy's on the side of the Mountaineers, Steve.
Kevin McMyler. It's his first punt of the afternoon, and it's a fair catch called for by Antonio Brown, and the crowd groans. He had plenty of room to run if he wanted to. ESPN Classic presents This Day in History. Chris Berman hosts Remembering Lombardi. The 30th anniversary of the death of the legendary coach. Sports Century style, and you can see it Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. To order ESPN Classic, dial 1-800-CLASSIC or call your cable provider.
Terrific book that I just read just a little while ago, Steve, is a book called When Pride Really Matters. It's a different kind of biography on the life of Vince Lombardi. Gentleman went into great detail. Just a terrific book on arguably the greatest coach in the history of pro football. As you look at the total yards,
with a 17-0 lead. Here's Avon Coburn carrying it out and grinding down that clock, which appears to be working now. Doug Bassett made the stop, the strong safety.
Once again, the great feat of Coburn. Some guys are meant for AstroTurf. Take a look at Coburn, low center of gravity. There's the cut. Now you think he's going to the outside. Nope, he cuts back. Once again, able to make a lot out of nothing. Mom says, that's right, I taught him that. That's right, I worked on him. We're in the backyard. I said, cut right, cut left. Yeah, it's my boy.
Making her proud every single day. Supposed to be a terrific kid, not just a terrific. Here's Lewis sprinting out to his right, and the throw got a man wide open. And threw it a bit behind him. Antonio Brown made the catch, and if he could have kept his feet, it might have been 6.
Willie Poole had to make a decision, Steve, and the decision he had to make was once the quarterback rolls out and looks like he's going to run, he needs to step up or stay with his man. He didn't stay with his man. He stepped up, able to make the play, but it's going to come back because of the penalty.
The 25-yard gain will be taken away.
Ineligible downfield offense, 5 yards from the previous spot. Remains second down.
See, this is really tough on an offensive lineman. Here you have the quarterback roll out, and for all intents and purposes, looks like he's going to run. So as the lineman, you go, all right, I'm helping. I take off downfield 3 yards. All of a sudden, he pulls up and throws, and I'm stuck. So in the film room, you say, come on, I thought he was going to run. I was doing a good thing. Instead, it turns out to be a penalty.
Back it up and make it 2nd and 11. According to Bill Legg, that would be a loss of 30, minus 30 yards. We'll get into that in just a bit. Here's Lewis to throw now. Has a man again. Huge cushion by the BC secondary. It's Brown again, and he only needs a couple of steps to make the play. Pick up a 14 there to Antonio Brown. Jonathan Ordway, the best cover guy in that BC secondary, making the stop.
Antonio Brown is the fastest man according to 40 times. Now this is an interesting matchup. You've got Antonio Brown, who was 2nd in the indoor 60 meters in the Big East. You know who was 3rd? Ordway. And you know who won it?
No.
Santana Moss of Miami.
Wow.
So you got a bunch of football players running the sprints, but this young man timed it 4:18. Unbelievable.
Draw play to Coburn, and it's snuffed out as he stopped at midfield.
Interesting statistic, though, if you noticed, coming back to Brown for just a little bit, you saw that he had 50 catches, but he had less than 10 yards per catch. Offensive coordinator Bill Legg said that we have to get him downfield, and we have to get the vertical game going. And I think that they've been able to establish that today, Steve, with 2 plays in particular.
Brown had a big game against BC in '98. 3 catches for 75 yards. Didn't get to see the Eagles last season. A hip pointer kept them out of the matchup. Brings up a 2nd down and 8 now. Under 10 minutes to play here in the first half. Lewis quick drop and the throw. That time going for Corey Ivy, who tried to go up, and he goes 6'3" and couldn't pull it down. Willie Poole was right on him.
Coburn, of course, is Avon Coburn. Everybody's aware of his skills as a tailback, but can he block? Watch number 22 stick his nose right in the middle. Of course, he gets spiked for it. But I can tell you as an offensive player, you don't mind that as long as your guy doesn't make the play. And it shows a lot of courage on the part of the 5'9", 195-pounder who's not simply a one-dimensional runner.
That's the playing without the football that Don Nehlen talked about. On 3rd down and 8. Blitz from the outside. They get up the screen perfectly to Coburn, but he doesn't have enough for the first down. Might have been a late hit there, too. There was some piling on. Paul Cook made the stop. And late hits, these two are familiar with that. In last year's matchup, West Virginia was really upset with Boston College. They said 3 or 4 late hits on their quarterback. Brad Lewis actually had to leave the game with a concussion.
Yeah, but the coaching staff stressed that success is the best revenge. And up to this point, certainly, everything is going the way of the blue and gold.
We did some trash talking in the papers this week, talking about a revenge game. Mark Fazzolari puts it in the air, and it'll go into the end zone for a touchback, a 47-yard punt. In his 21st season as head coach, Don Nehlen's got a 17-0 lead.
ESPN's presentation of college football is brought to you by Dodge. In a perfect world, everything would be different. And by BF Goodrich Tires. Take control.
Welcome back. 29th meeting all time between these two. Only became Big East rivals in '91 when the conference started. 10th time they meet as Big East rivals. And Boston College will take over. They've had 16 plays from scrimmage, a net of 26 yards. They look for more here. And the throw, and it's batted away. Tim Hasselbeck back in the game. J.P. Camella was the intended receiver.
Had him open too, Steve. Needed to get a little air under it. It was underneath. Camella comes out of the backfield on an out and up. You're going to see the fullback come here and go. And he's got him. The linebacker's in trail, but the ball is short. He needs to throw that a little bit farther, and he's got a big completion.
2nd down and 10 from the 20-yard line. Single setback is Willie Green. And he's the man carrying the football out past the 25. Michigan in action. More on the Big Ten. Here's Brian Kenny.
Thank you, Steve. Michigan and Bowling Green, and Drew Henson, of course, out injured. Would have been the starting quarterback. John Navarre, redshirt freshman, is in. First action as a collegiate passer. 3 touchdown passes that to Bellamy. 21-0 right now.
How's that for pressure? Redshirt freshman. Getting the first couple snaps in the big house.
Looks like it's really bothering him.
Yeah, it's clearly. On 3rd and 4 now. Again, the hand of Willie Green on the left side. He's well short of that first down. Brian King made the stop.
He's got an interesting nickname, Brian King.
What would that be? His mates call him Seahorn.
Ah.
He doesn't like it much.
He's a pretty good player.
I think it's for the wrong reason that he doesn't like it. Just for Jason Seahorn's ability, I'm very happy with it. Kevin McMyler, the punt, and it's out of bounds. 7:45 to play here in the second. And West Virginia enjoying a 17-0 lead. On ESPN2 tonight, see the 25th ranked Buffaloes take on the Rams in that all-Colorado showdown at 6 Eastern from Mile High. Also on ESPN, it's Southern Miss taking on Tennessee and a couple of top 25 ranked clubs, and then Arizona, Utah at 9 Eastern here on ESPN as well.
I think Southern Miss has a shot at an upset. Tennessee, T. Martin is gone.
We opened at Tennessee last season. What an atmosphere that is. We'll have some more of that tonight. Torrey Johnson had the reception there. Let's go down to the field. And Dave Ryan.
Well, Steve, what a great start for the West Virginia defense. They've created a lot of momentum on the sideline, really put some electricity through all these guys here. Chris Edmonds in particular, he has really got this team going, causing a fumble on the option pitch with 4 from Green, and the interception as well. Remember, they had a really big trouble last year stopping the running game. They allowed 8 different rushes to 100-plus yards. Their theme, guys, to shock the nation. They're shocking BC right now, big time.
Check out the disturbing rushing yards. Not all that good for West Virginia for this point either. Cooper Rigo, who scored the touchdown that put the Mountaineers up 17-0 on the carry. Curtis Bolden made the stop.
Well, as Dave pointed out, that was really a problem for them last year. They gave up nearly 200 yards per game. And as Dave documented, 8 different guys had 100-yard games against them. So that was certainly an area in which Steve Dunlap, the defensive coordinator for West Virginia, realized had to be rectified. Don
Nealon came out and he said in his 20 previous seasons, the worst defense he's had here was last season. That can't make your defensive coordinator feel too good either.
Holy cow.
Loose footballs all the way back to the 30 as Lewis tried to pick it up. And it's batted around and dropped at the 25-yard line.
And Scott Bradley is the one that had a golden opportunity. You can see the reaction of Frank Spaziani saying that's the way to go, that's the way to hustle back, but they just couldn't quite come up with it.
Rondrick Smith recovered it.
Well, Gillum launches the missile over the head of Lewis, who really appeared like he wasn't quite ready. Now right here, watch Bradley hustle in and push him away. It looks like he has the ball for just a second. Now watch, it's right behind his butt. If he had eyes in the back of his head, he could have seen it. Instead, West Virginia is able to maintain possession.
A loss of 27. That'll put Fazzolari on to punt it away again. Dedrick DeWalt will take it and out of bounds at the 23-yard line.
It's 52 yards and no return. Great punt.
17-0. It's all going right for the most part for the Mountaineers. Boston College expected to be a pretty good offensive club, yet they've got nothing to show for it so far today. They've run 19 plays from scrimmage, netting a total of 33 yards. That's 1.7 yards per play. And that's certainly not going to get them back in the football game. See if Cedric Washington can. He's hit just about at the line of scrimmage by Sean Hackett.
You know, it's interesting, Steve. A big chunk of that yardage were the first 2 plays of the game when they ran the 2 hook patterns, remember? And it seemed to me that Hasselbeck was getting off to a good start. Maybe they're going to throw the ball downfield a little bit, but give West Virginia's defense credit. They've shut everything down since then.
And again, just 2 players on the West Virginia defense returning with the starting experience, especially an inexperienced secondary, and BC has not been able to take advantage of that after the first 2 plays. Here's Hasselbeck to throw, and could not connect with DeWalt. Might have got a pretty catchable ball, it looked like, maybe a bit behind him. Richard Bryant was right there with him.
Remember, DeWalt was their go-to guy last year with 38 catches. The only thing we mentioned his name so far has been that drop punt. West Virginia's done a nice job of shutting him out, or rather Boston College has done a poor job of finding him.
Brings up a 3rd down and 8. Hasselbeck so far 4 of 8 for 33 yards, and he's been picked off once. Out of the shotgun. Snap is a good one. Hasselbeck steps up and fires, and he overthrows his target, Jamal Burke. Again, good coverage on the play by that secondary of West Virginia. Ben Meehan was there along with Brian King.
And Steve, the crowd acknowledges that if there is a community that is into their team, it's got to be this one in Morgantown. You check the internet, you check the papers, it's nothing but Mountaineers. And so they're very aware that they have the inexperienced secondary that up to this point has held up quite well.
Here's the punt. After some pretty good pressure on Kevin McMyler, able to get it away. Antonio Brown from the 30, and he slips up at about the 36-yard line. Anthony Nolan helped him slip up.
Steve Dunlap, the defensive coordinator for West Virginia, who's been here an awful lot of years, was seemingly curt with us yesterday, Steve. Very monosyllabic answers. But he's got all the answers, at least thus far today. As he was talking about, he had anticipated that they're going to run between the tackles, and then he said his men were going to have to step up and actually play. We're not going to fool anybody. Well, his young men have done exactly that, as you can see him diagramming what it is he wants to be done on the next series. His charges have been tremendous here in the first quarter and a half.
Dunlap played here in the early 70s and actually still holds the single game and season tackle records. He's 6th all-time on the West Virginia career tackle list. It's the wide receiver Antonio Brown on the end around. Gets a chunk of yardage there, maybe 4 or 5 on the play.
Dunlap very astute. Somebody, a real observer of the game.
He mentioned he was curt, maybe short with us, and then at the end he said, hey, you know what, guys? Talk to me after we've played one game, and I'll have a lot more for you. And so you certainly could understand that.
You can see right there, one of the things that he wanted to do is he wanted less than 4 yards on first down in particular. And up to this point, West Virginia's done a nice job of that against Boston College's offense.
They give him 7 on that end around to Brown. So on a 2nd and 3 off the play action. Here's Lewis. Oh, he's got a man, and he threw it over his head. The wrong angle. Was looking for Corey Ivy, who had beaten his man. Looked like there was some help there, but Ivy would have had 6 if he could have connected.
Ivy had a little bit of an out and up move. You can see him come downfield. Here's the experienced Ivy with the hook and go. There he is. He's able to get, he's wide open. And in fairness to Ivy, that's a terrific route, but a very poor throw. You got to at least keep the ball in bounds to give him a chance to get it. As you can see, number 13, Willie Poole, is the defensive back fool on the play.
And the routes that you talk about and the way he runs, that's what the coaching staff told him. Might not be the best receiver, but technically is their best wide receiver. Again, Brown is the flyer with all the speed and the big play potential. Quarterback draw, Lewis to run with it, gets around one man and gets out of bounds, leap for the first down, and he should have it. Willie Poole had a chance to make a stop on him before he got to the marker, but Lewis beats him there. And let's see if we get a measurement. Should be pretty close for a first down.
Looks to be just a little bit short, Steve, and I think the crowd's a little upset about that mark. Actually, a pretty good play on the part of Lewis on the quarterback draw. He was supposed to go up the middle, found nothing, cuts to the outside and avoids a tackler, but was running out of AstroTurf, leans forward, and sometimes they give you that arm and sometimes they don't. But from here, it looks like he's a little short.
Brad Lewis has really changed the opinion. I think of the coaching staff. He got himself the first down. Of the coaching staff and of his teammates, just by his leadership from the end of the spring practice to now, they've really all fallen in love with him. We get another update now. Here's Brian Kenny.
Steve, even if this was your update special, this a bit of a surprise. Toledo, 10 starters back on offense. Chester Taylor, one of them. Chester Taylor over 1,100 yards on the ground last year, plunging in for another touchdown on Penn State. 17-0 right now, getting toward the half, Steve.
All right, Brian. Steve, one of the things with regards to that is I think people just took it for granted that Joe Paterno was going to get his 7 wins.
Wow, Lewis stays on his feet. He was swung around and then throws. It was nearly intercepted to the back of the receiver, looking for Corey Ivy.
Now, Steve, what you saw there is you saw Corey Ivy engage with the defensive back. This flag should not go against Ordway if they're going to call interference, because clearly it was a situation where Ivy was downfield blocking.
Sean Guthrie is the man who let Lewis escape, had the chance to make the big play. Let's see.
Well, that's a good call. And so what they're
How
going
about that one?
That's interesting because they called Ivy for that. He was thinking that he was going to run. Once again, a situation where both flags are the byproduct of thinking Lewis was going to run. But what power he had. You mentioned Guthrie didn't let him go. He thought he was going to spike him. He winds him around and throws him, but instead he's able to keep his feet. Lewis just trying to do something with the play.
Ineligible receiver, downfield offense. That penalty has been declined. However, we have offensive pass interference, offensive team, 15-yard penalty, remains first down.
Well, again, now look at Ivy right here. He's pushing on him, but actually what he's doing here is he's blocking. He's anticipating that there's going to be a run instead of a throw. The official, that could have been a non-call. They could have let that go just in terms of the fact they made a mistake. But usually, Steve, when you see that happen, it goes the other way. It's tough being a DB at any level.
The numbers on Ivy so far in his big catch. Hey, 2 great examples of why they love Lewis, right? Another quarterback maybe goes down, takes the sack, he stays on his feet. The play before that, he fights for the extra yard, getting the first down. We're seeing what Brad Lewis is all about. But the penalty will make it a 1st and 26. Quick drop, and the throw was behind Antonio Brown. And great coverage on the play again by Willie Poole. Not much there, even if he would have caught the football.
You know, you mentioned Lewis and praised him for that. And by the same token, you know, praise and damned at the same time. Some of the throws, he had Ivy open for what would have been a big play. Right here, he throws the ball behind. He's a little erratic right now. And people are talking about how they appreciate the fact that his leadership, he seems to be more of a leader than Mark Bulger, the former quarterback. But up to this point, he doesn't quite have the experience or the skill.
2nd and 26. Lewis, they try to set up the screen, and that does not work well either. Looking to get the football in the hands of Avon Coburn, and that'll bring up the always fun 3rd and 26. Oh. Field level to Dave Ryan.
Well, you guys are talking about how tough Brad Lewis is. He really got a lot of respect from his teammates. And it all started last November against these BC Eagles. He took a heavy hit right to the helmet, but came right back to the huddle. Teammates thought he was knocked out for the game. He said, don't worry about it, I'm all right. Guys like Corey Ivy really took note of that. And guys, during the offseason, he's been lifting with a lineman. He benches 320 pounds, setting a quarterback record here at West Virginia. His coaches call him a street fighter. He's a tough guy.
Dave, Lewis actually, when you look at the bench, he was 5th strongest quarterback in the nation. Mike Bath of Miami of Ohio is benching 425.
Now, wait. I got to ask something here. While they mark off substitution infraction, Boston College had 13 people in the huddle and a couple people ran off.
3rd down.
And that's something that they're going to enforce strongly this year. A guy who can bench press as a quarterback, isn't that kind of like having a goalie who can really skate? I mean, come on. And who's compiling this? No, who's out there compiling this?
I hate to correct you.
The top 5 bench pressing quarterbacks.
I hate to correct you on your first hockey reference of the season, but the goaltender is well known as the best skater on the team. Here's Coburn now carrying out to the right side. Well, part of that, I think, is just being in the room with the guys, right? Part of the respect.
Absolutely.
And bench pressing. A lot of quarterbacks probably don't work on the weights too much. The stereotypical
no,
quarterback.
they do, but when you look at that, what I had read, Dave said 320. I'd heard 375,
right.
and I'd also heard as much as 390. But again, you know, as I say, I'm not necessarily sure I want my quarterback to be that buff. That's just me.
And as for who's keeping track of these things, I don't know. I read it in the paper. Here's the snap, low snap for Fazzolari, and there's a problem on it there.
Holy cow.
It was blocked. Ralph Parent got to it off the low snap.
Steve, he was there so quickly that he actually had to slow down to take it off of his foot. And again, I'm not sure that Fazzolari was back far enough. Normally, you're supposed to be about 15 yards. I mean, Parent was right there, right in his face. This could be the break that BC needs to get back in this game. They needed something.
Boston College comes out on the field now, and they'll open 1st and 10 from the 34-yard line. Have done very little offensively, but here their best opportunity. Cedric Washington off tackle for a pickup of 1 or 2. Back to the block punt.
Well, take a look, just completely unblocked right here. Look at the angle he gets. He's not supposed to get that good of an angle. You can see he's right on top of it. Parent, number 80 in this case, Braxton, ran right past him. He was supposed to block Parent, but he did not. And the result is disastrous for West Virginia. And BC, without a doubt, the best field position they've had.
See what they can do with it on 2nd and 8. Hasselbeck's out of the shotgun. It's like 4 receivers in the pattern. 5 now. Hasselbeck is hit as he throws. Pass is completed to Cedric Washington to get half of it, and Brian King made the stop.
Big 3rd down here for Boston College for a lot of reasons. Obviously down 17-0. But they're in long distance field goal range here. This possibly, Steve, could be 4-down territory.
3rd down and 6. The crowd getting behind their Mountaineer defense now. Hasselbeck
Middle
throws
screen
across the middle, able to connect to DeJuan Daniels, and he's very close to the 1st down.
He's going to be a little. I'm thinking that he's going to be a little bit short, but what I didn't understand about DeJuan Daniels is he cuts across. He's got momentum. For whatever reason, he slowed down and tried to cut in the middle. I don't understand. He had a lot on the other side.
And we'll get the measurement. With 2:28 to play here in the 1st half, West Virginia leading by 17.
Well, they didn't have to make a decision.
And he's got the 1st down. Let's check in with Brian Kenny. Tell us what's up for halftime.
Thank you very much, Steve. Sports Center in-game coming your way at the half. Michael Vick already with some early electrifying highlights. Chris Lee and Kirk will be here as well with their analysis. And San Jose State showing some spunk against #1 Nebraska. That's coming up at the half.
All right, Brian, thank you. We look forward to that on 1st and 10 now from the 24-yard line. BC trying to get on the board before halftime. Hasselbeck on 1st down will hand it off to Washington. The right side. And he is taken down for a loss. David Upchurch, the 1st man there for West Virginia.
West Virginia has had 8 in the box the entire 1st half, and Boston College has not been able to take advantage of it. They have just been swarming the ball carrier, and as we documented, Washington, the 2nd leading rusher in the Big 8 last year with over 1,100 yards, just cannot get started. People in the backfield, look at all the blue shirts. Attacking Washington has absolutely no place to go.
And Washington had himself a ball game against West Virginia last season at 181 yards on the ground. He was the Big East Offensive Player of the Week. He's got just 14 yards here. Hasselbeck throwing up top. Did he pull it down? Yes, he's got it. Derek DeWalt making the catch.
And here's the inexperience on the part of Bryant. Here you have the deep slant route of the skinny post, depending upon your terminology. And watch Bryant see it. Now here's the cut right here. Now he cuts in front of him and needs to get in front. Instead, DeWalt does a great job of keeping his body between Bryant and the ball and coming down with it. We mentioned DeWalt earlier as their go-to guy. He finally comes up with a very big play for the Eagles.
Cedric DeWalt on the receiving end. Sorry, Todd, of that 23-yard reception. Send the man in motion. Hand it off up the middle. Touchdown for Boston College. William Green on the touchdown, and the Eagles are on the board. So the blocked punt proves costly for West Virginia.
Steve, Paul LeCaire and Michael Cook did a tremendous job on the left side of that line, creating that hole. When you're on the 2 or 3 yard line and the guy falls in relatively untouched, that means your offensive line is doing a great job.
BC on to attempt the extra point. Mike Sutphin checks in and splits the uprights. And with 1:27 to play here in the first half, got ourselves a football game. BC's on the board. They still trail West Virginia now 17-7. Steve Levy, Todd Christensen, Dave Ryan. Hope you're having a great holiday weekend so far. Hope it gets even better. West Virginia has the lead. BC finally on the board. Coming up at halftime, Brian Kenny, and Chris Fowler, Lee Corso, and Kirk Herbstreit. Sports Center in-game, the Holiday Inn halftime report. And the victimize, you can guess what that's all about. And we'll preview number 3 Alabama getting set to take on UCLA. That's all coming up at halftime. Mike Sutphin to kick it off for Boston College. Sean Terry is deep for West Virginia. From the goal line, here's Terry carrying it for 20. Had a bit of a seam, and he's able to stumble out just shy of the 30-yard line. Doug Bassett on the special teams tackle for BC.
Now, Steve, what do you think here, West Virginia? Are they going to be content to go in with a 10-point halftime lead, or do you think they have enough confidence in Lewis to let him spread it out and see if he can move it up the field?
I think they take a shot here.
Do you?
1:21 to play.
I tell you what, though.
You go the other way?
Well, I'm just saying the last 2 series, he's been very inaccurate. And it would be horrendous for West Virginia to turn the ball over here in this situation. I think the first play will dictate an awful lot.
All right. It's got Antonio Brown split out far side to the left. Corey Ivy on the right side, and out of the eye. And they do hand it off to Avon Coburn.
Boston College should call timeout here. Stop the clock. Because West Virginia is going to want to run it out. Might as well use your timeouts, make them punt, see if you can get something going on the other end.
Clock is still ticking, as you see. I agree. No sign of a timeout for Boston College as you look at head coach Tom O'Brien.
Well, evidently both are content to do that. Here we were trying to get hyped up and get excited about, hey, you're going to go length. Maybe not.
8 seconds left on the play clock. We'll see how far they take it down. With 38 left in the half. And they pitch it out to the left to Coburn. He picks up 3 on the play. And 30 seconds left. Let's see if they have to run one more.
Now, of course, you ask yourself the question, Boston College calls timeout now.
Of course, makes perfect sense, Todd.
Well, the reason I say that, and at the result, is simply because of the fact that you're saying to yourself, why? You might as well use the time. I mean, might as well use it.
Right. But why not use it 30 seconds ago?
Yep.
We'll be right back.
I have never been so challenged in my entire life.
There is that Jesuit ideal there of learning just for the sake of learning and enriching yourself. The atmosphere is very, very vibrant and very up.
So I think that it's the sense of community.
When I have a BC sticker on my car, people will pull up beside you, they'll beep and they'll wave because they went to BC and you go to BC and there's that bond there, even though you've never met them before, which I think is something really wonderful.
We're not just like everybody else.
First and goal for Miami. So Larry Jones, he is at the guard. Touchdown, Miami!
Here's Walker left side. Tom Walker will score. West Virginia has done it.
Here's the snap. The kick is away. It is good! Boston College wins!
Last play of the ball game to the tight end, Brominski. He went down. This kick is in the air. It is gone. It is gone. One of the greatest wins ever. Let that celebration begin.
Overcast day here in Morgantown, West Virginia. BC was concerned about the humidity. They're talking about 95, 97%. It's not that bad, only 62% humidity here today. Here's Lewis throwing after the timeout and completes it to Corey Ivy. And another timeout is called. No, they're saying no. They're saying not a completion, that it must have hit the turf.
Back judge sprinted up to say that, and of course Ivy disagrees, and so does Nalen. Once again, kind of a wobbly throw on the part of Lewis. He had plenty of time to throw. Take a look for yourselves and watch into the hands of number 8. Lewis has plenty of time. He runs the dig route to the middle of the field. Watch if his hands get underneath. I thought they did. Of course, I'm a pass catcher, and I always want to give the guy the advantage, but it appeared to me that Ivy made the catch. And, of course, that saves Boston College a timeout if, indeed, they opt to head up the field.
See if BC, you know BC's coming after blocking the last punt attempt by Mark Fazzolari. Again, a low snap. The blocked punt had a low snap in front of it as well. Gets this one away. And BC with Dedrick DeWalt carrying the football. And did he lose it again? As flags fly from all over with 11 seconds left in the first half.
Trevor White clipped, and that's going to move them back, so obviously they're not going to do that. But special teams have been an issue today, some of the little plays in particular. First of all, watch Zach Anglin, the punter, who makes a great catch on the field goal to enable West Virginia to get that field goal. DeWalt can't quite cut up field, even though he's got about 10 or 15 yards. This time the punt is blocked. That leads to Boston College's first touchdown. So as you pointed out, Steve, one of the things that happens in the inaugural game of the season for both teams, a lot of penalties, and certainly they struggle on special teams. We've seen both today here in the first half.
Well, Don Nehlen said that there's just no time to prepare. He said the kick return coverage, for example, they've practiced a total of 3 times. That's one of those things that's very difficult to practice, evidently, coming into a season.
And I remember last year, Steve, it's interesting, even last year in the middle of the season, I would guess that in games that you and I did, every other or maybe every third game, there's a kick return for a touchdown.
Right. There's a lot of blocked punts as well, and we're keeping that theme here today. On 1st and 10 for BC. And they'll keep it on the ground and run out the clock. Cedric Washington, the final carry. And we are at halftime here in Morgantown, West Virginia. The Mountaineers lead BC 17-7. Now to Brian Kenny. 3 times they have bounced back to have winning seasons. 2 of the 3 they've gone to bowl games. They would hope for that similar scenario here. Todd James puts it in the air, and the second half is underway. Willie Green from the goal line cuts to the 15. Trying to break it out to the sideline and knocked out of bounds at the 22-yard line. More on Nehlen and those rebounding from the losing seasons, and here are the specifics. Pretty good rebounding, and then of course the big question mark here in 2000. BC's always a friend for Don Nehlen. He always seems to have a good winning record against them. He's dominated them over the years. A 14-4-1 record against Boston College. Like to get off to a good start.
I just realized it wasn't 1 big question mark, it was 2. Did you notice that?
Hey, a 4-7 season will do that to you.
That's right.
Lots of question marks. So here's BC trailing by 10 to open up half number 2. On 1st and 10, here's the quarterback Tim Hasselbeck throwing, and there appeared to be some miscommunication as he looked to hit Robert Ellis, the tight end.
Once again, it was a similar route that he ran earlier to his fullback, and that was a little bit of an out and up, and this one woefully behind him. Hasselbeck, we talked about how he completes his first 2 passes, has a little confidence, has it working. Since that time, he just has not been able to get it going.
Ellis, the tight end, is an interesting story. He left the team prior to spring practice for personal reasons. He wanted to return, and Coach O'Brien said, hey, the players will vote on it, and they voted him back on the team. And now he's out to do anything they ask him to do. As Hasselbeck carries it, David Upchurch brought him down after a pickup of 5.
There's a play with his groin problems last year he never could have run, but now with the operation he's a little bit more mobile, willing to call his number more. They're going to run a little more speed option this year. The quarterback draws, get the quarterback involved in the rushing game.
3rd down and 5. An obvious First big play the second half. BC tries to get something going offensively. And that pass able to connect to Dedrick DeWalt should be enough for the first down. Richard Bryant on the tackle there.
Dedrick DeWalt came up with a big play at the end of the first half to put them in position to score. Now he runs the quick slant. Difficult catch, actually. The ball was thrown low, but he's able to come up with it.
Fresh set of downs for Boston College. The sun trying to creep through the clouds. They send DeWalt in motion, and they hand it off to Cedric Washington. Rick Sherrod and Sean Hackett the stop.
Steve, that's about a 5 or 6 yard gain, which really, I mean, this sounds funny, but that's actually pretty huge, because up to this point on first down, Boston College had been averaging barely over 2 yards on first down. So that's more of what Boston College needs to do.
And that's, for Washington, that's only his second gain of more than 2 yards. And he's their big back as you look at the conditions here at Mountaineer Field. Capacity some 63,000. They're hoping to get upwards of 60. Here's Hasselbeck, all sorts of time, and throws an incomplete, looking to Jamal Burke with all sorts of time. Back to the studio. Here's Brian Kenny.
Steve, Todd was mentioning earlier 7 wins for Joe Paterno chasing Bear Bryant. 7 wins looking far off here. Toledo. Tavares Bolden here in the second half to Lyle Green. 24-0. Toledo leading Penn State. But then Rashard Casey coming back for the Nittany Lions. And across field finding Larry Johnson. Johnson going all the way in, 61 yards, but they missed the extra point. Still a stunning score so far, 24-6, Steve.
All right, Brian, thanks. Back here in Morgantown, Keith Hemmings is on the receiving end of the Tim Hasselbeck pass. First reception for Hemmings, a pickup of 10 and another first down.
Slant route that requires a little bit of courage, because you know you've got to go over the middle. Here comes Hemmings, 1, 2, 3, and cut. He knows there's going to be some blue shirts. Lowers his head, Hackett drops him, but he's able to hold on. Nice play by the youngster.
This is exactly what Boston College needed, right? They get the touchdown late in the first half, and now actually putting together some kind of drive to start the second. Out of the eye, they send a man in motion. And Hasselbeck trying to mix it up between the ground game and the passing game. Gives it to Cedric Washington. Kyle Caden brought him down in the middle.
Well, the conversation that Dave Ryan alluded to earlier between Tom O'Brien and Dana Bible is producing some fruit here. As they're having a nice mix of pass and run. Once again, a good first down gain, nearly 5 yards. That's something that Boston College was unable to do in the first half.
2nd and 6 now across midfield at the 47 of West Virginia. Off the play action, Hasselbeck the throw, got a man, able to complete the short pass. Could be very close to a first down as Hasselbeck picks himself up off the turf. That was DeJuan Daniels on the receiving end.
DeJuan Daniels is the youngster that they're counting on for big plays this year. He was a do-everything guy last year, averaged 27.5 yards on kickoff returns. Had that 100-yarder to begin the game against Syracuse. They're waiting for him to do some big things. He's a 10-6 100-meter man. So he's their version of Antonio Brown.
3rd and short. Willie Green checks in behind Ryan Utzler, the fullback now. And they give it to Green, trying the left side. She should have enough for the first down.
A lot of that depends on the spot, Steve. That didn't look terribly generous. Already calling it 4th down.
Wow.
Nobody moving from the sidelines. I think they're going to go for it.
All right, so here we go. 4th, and let's call it inches. The 42-yard line. A Mountaineer defense that
was wrong.
Super strong in the first half.
Steve, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to get, after this show is over with, none of those 1-800 shows, none of the psychics are going to call me, because everything I predicted has been way off. Measurements are wrong. They're going to go for it on 4th downs wrong. Never mind. Just forget.
And they had been calling you in the past, right?
Yes.
Richard Bryant is deep off the Kevin McMyler punt, but he won't get a chance to return it as it bounces out of bounds. We'll see where they spot it at the 11-yard line. So West Virginia holds on BC's best drive of the football game, but it doesn't produce any points. Boston College off that very strong season last year, but it didn't finish up all that good. They lost their last 2 games, including the bowl game, by a combined 58 points. Kind of soured memory of a pretty good season. Here's West Virginia with Avon Colbert cutting it to the middle. Had one man to beat from making a really big gain, but he's got a first down for West Virginia before Willie Poole brought him down. We go down to Dave Ryan.
Well, Steve, let's finish up the information on Antonio Gray. He is out for the game. Their best defensive lineman, sprained left knee, possible cartilage tear. Same goes for their starting cornerback, DJ Sutton. So 2 key starters are gone. As for Gray a moment ago, slapping the helmets of his teammates, fellow defensive linemen, trying to get him pumped up. Right now, he's just a cheerleader.
All right, Dave, thanks for the information. Well, heard Boston College.
Huge loss. It really is.
Handoff to Coburn again, trying the middle. Garay was trying to be the guy to replace Chris Hovan. They said he had the skills and the talent. Just wish they had Hovan's work ethic.
Well, if he has a rehab ahead of him, he'll certainly need that.
The questions about the front 7 for Boston College will continue. Injury and inexperience. 2nd down and 6 after the Coburn run. 2 receivers out to left. Quick screen is knocked down at the line. They were trying to get it out to Antonio Brown, but Curtis Bolden, who's filling in for a pair of linebackers for Boston College. You go 3 deep to get to Bolden, and he's the guy that makes the play.
This is interesting. It looked just for a second like it might be thrown backwards. There he is on the 24, and he bats it down somewhere between the 20. Well, all right. Incomplete. That was awfully close. Tennessee Buffalo, Tennessee Buffalo.
Sunday night on ESPN. Leading very nicely into that promo time. Still looks forward to you, right?
Still a forward pass.
Every time you look at it.
Absolutely.
Doesn't get any closer.
Nope. Nope.
Boy, the city of Buffalo can't get a break, huh? Bills, Sabres. Here's Lewis throwing, and it should have been picked off. It was right in the hands of Willie Poole, and you see how angry he is. That hit him square in the numbers, it appeared.
This is a very poor throw on the part of Lewis, and Poole does a great job of anticipating the hook route. Watch number 13 in your screen. It's going to break down. Right there, he knows it's a hook. Now he's able to come in. Braxton is not where he is supposed to be. He's a little bit too far inside, and certainly Poole should have come up with that one.
So West Virginia gets away with a break. They've had some trouble on the snaps. We've seen a couple of low snaps in a row to the punter, Mark Fazzolari. That one looked to be pretty good. And Fazzolari gets it up in the air to Dedrick DeWalt, trying to cut to the middle. And he'll be brought down shy of the 30-yard line. David Carter on the special team stop.
Treleski did a nice job that time, as you pointed out, a couple of struggles earlier. And that time, Fazzolari was about 13 yards back, but usually it's a standard of about 15 yards. And I really think that was a contributing factor as to why that punt was blocked last time. That and the fact that Braxton didn't block his man.
51-yard punt, a 7-yard return.
And you know, nowadays, Steve, at the professional level, you have guys that are on the team strictly to do that one thing. That is their job. They're not a position player. That's all they do.
New England Patriots, for example. Here's Hasselbeck to throw, looking up top, got a man. It's DeWalt, and he juggled. It would have been out of bounds anyway. And again, good coverage. Very impressed by Brian King, the redshirt freshman from Maryland.
Right at the end of the play, there's a hand fight going on between DeWalt and King, and I think DeWalt spent a little too much time with the hand fight right here because look, I think this is a catchable ball. See, he's pushing off, can't get that left hand up in time, and as a result, he's not able to come up with it. Maybe if he spends just a little less time with the hand fight, he's able to get it.
You know, and he would have been in bounds there if he would have caught that. I thought it was clearly would have been out of bounds regardless, but.
And that's a classic case of what the coaches call 11 on 11. Jersey numbers, come on, you're with me.
2nd and 10. And that pass, whether it was dropped or good coverage, it was right in the hands of Mike Guazzo. Kyle Caden had the coverage.
You listen to receiving coaches tell you all the time, catch it in your hands, catch it in your hands. There's a situation where you don't. Go ahead and trap it in your chest. Let it hit you in the stomach. Because when you're between the hashes like that, you're going to get hit immediately. Instead, as he extends his hands and the ball hits him, it drops.
Bring up a 3rd down and 10. For BC, Hasselbeck out of the shotgun. You see the conversions today. 2 receivers out to the left. Hasselbeck looking to his right, now scrambling away from pressure, directing traffic, and he tries to throw it ahead, and there's the flag.
Way past the line. I mean,
past the line. He might have had a foot out of bounds as well. A lot of things going on in that one play. None of them good for Boston College.
But, you know, usually it's close. You want to have that replay and go, oh, you know, I'm not quite sure. Look at the hand, look at the foot. In that case, he threw the ball. The line of scrimmage is the 29. He threw it about the 35.
Quarterback stepped out of bounds, trials the passing, 4th down.
And as you pointed out, Steve, because he stepped out of bounds, they picked up the flag. Now this is the line of scrimmage. Now watch as he scrambles out. You're going to see his foot go out of bounds right there. Right at the 30-yard line, and then 4 yards farther up, he throws the ball and gets rid of it.
Chris Edmonds had the good pressure to force him into the mistake. Antonio Brown is deep for West Virginia at the 24-yard line. And Kevin McMyler will boot it away. McMyler from his own 18. And he gets it away with 3 blue jerseys around him. And a signal for the fair catch by Antonio Brown. We'll step out, 8.5 to play here in the 3rd quarter from Morgantown with West Virginia up by 10.
ESPN's presentation of college football is brought to you by Buick and your local Buick dealers. And by new Beck's Light. All beer, no compromise. Look for Beck's Light in a clear bottle wherever you buy Beck's.
Welcome back to Morgantown, West Virginia, the Big East opener for both of these schools and for the league for that matter. Lewis off the play action, really sell it there, and he's got heavy pressure, escapes a couple of white jerseys, and fires it out of bounds, and that'll bring up a 2nd and 10 for West Virginia. And you really look at the contrast between these two schools, not just BC off a good season, West Virginia off a tough season trying to bounce back, but you look at BC from the big city and here as opposed to playing in Morgantown. A lot of differences.
Well, of course, in Boston, you're able to get lost in the shuffle because of the fact there's so many other sports going on, so much going on in Boston. In Morgantown, it's a different story. What ends up happening in Morgantown is that this is the only game in town. And the result is the internet sites, the newspaper, the television, they're just deluged with Mountaineer football.
One school covered by the Boston Globe and the Boston Herald, the other school by the Mountaineer Express, for example. Here's the pitch now to Avon Coburn, and he breaks it out for the 1st down. Well, the passing game wasn't working. Lewis had missed on his last 7. Avon calling there for the 1st down and a pickup of 15. Here's Brian Kenny.
Steve, Virginia Tech, the defense rebuilding, the offense is up and running. Virginia Tech and Akron. Here's Michael Vick this time in the air. Andre Davis, nearly 1,000 yards receiving last year. Look at this bullet. Yikes. Davis, 35-yard touchdown catch, 42-17 in the 3rd.
All right, Brian, thanks. A bit closer here, 17-7. And there are the numbers on Coburn. Starting to pick that average up.
You know, I had to laugh a little bit about when I'm reading the periodicals talking about he's the new wave of quarterback. As if there are guys that are 6'2", 215, run 4.25, you can throw the ball 80 yards. They're all over the place. Come on.
Coburn on that carry. There's a flag on the play. We'll see if they bring it back. Just so exciting to watch.
Coburn is, and I think they'll take the yardage.
Actually, I was talking about Vick, but Coburn as well.
And both. Yeah. I was going to say he's really picked it up here in the 3rd quarter, and he is fun to watch. And a very animated young man, as we had lunch with him yesterday. Native of Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I said, hey, wasn't that where Ali's from? He goes, what? Once again, see, I show my age. You know, for a long time, you know, he resided in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. He had no idea.
In the previous spot, remain 1st down.
Coburn is out of the game now. Get a breather. Cooper Rigo, who scored a touchdown earlier, has checked in for West Virginia in the backfield. After the penalty, it'll be a 1st and 5 situation.
Oh, see, that's messed up. If you're the running back, you just had a 6-yard gain. You took my numbers away. Come on. Knock it off.
It's not right. And there's a look at Rigo, the touchdown maker earlier this afternoon. Send the man in motion, and they hand it off to Cooper Rigo. And he is short of the first down. Bring up a real second and short. Scott Bradley made the stop there.
See, we talked a little bit about the offensive line of Boston College. West Virginia has asserted itself a little bit here in the third quarter in particular. Matt Wilson, Terry Dixon, Rick Gillum, Brad Nell, and Tanner Russell, the right tackle. Tanner Russell, an interesting story, coming back from a shoulder surgery. And I see, you know what, whenever I hear these things, I'm just amazed. They said the man bench presses 520. Say what? 520?
You can't do that?
Man. Well, you know, 490. But.
2nd and 1.
That's a quarter of a ton.
I'll believe anything you tell me. You know that. I don't put anything past you.
Man, oh man.
West Virginia will call timeout. And that'll allow us to step out. Mountaineers by 10 here in the third. Back here in Morgantown at Mountaineer Field, the 21st year of this stadium. West Virginia owns a .715 winning percentage in this building. Look to add to that, up by 10. It's 7:07 to play here in the third, in an ideal offensive situation. Love those 2nd and 1 calls. Let's see what they do with it. And they hand it off for the first down. It's Cooper Rigo, and he's just across midfield.
We mentioned Tanner Russell, number 79, pulling out, bumping his man, coming downfield, going for a second man, but Rigo's on the other side of the line of scrimmage.
West Virginia across midfield now. With a fresh set of downs. And they gave it to the first man, the quick hitter through. And again, it's Cooper Rigo on the carry. And he's close to another first down. That was Coburn.
Coburn that time back in. Rigo's certainly a quality back, but Coburn has the great cutback ability. You see he's able to knife through, cut back against the grain a little bit, get some extra yardage. Tough to bring down despite the fact that he's only 195.
Avon Coburn, 19 carries for 91 yards now. The season finale here at home, he had 210 last season, setting the stadium record. Coburn again, should be good enough for another first down. Nice methodical drive here by West Virginia moving down the field.
Well, and as you pointed out, Steve, that was I'm forced to admit, very observant. Lewis is struggling. Lewis is 6 for 18. Obviously not a very good percentage, and most of his yardage came on only 2 completions, and so how nice it is when you're struggling to be able to lean over and hand it to number 22.
And he's missed on his last 7 attempts, so the ground game makes sense. Coburn had 51 yards in the first half. He's already got 42 yards this quarter. Might want to stay with that with 5.5 left in the third, but they don't. Lewis off the play action, and they're able to complete it to the 20 and out of bounds. It's the tight end Sean Burton. So there, your classic case of the running game setting up the passing game.
One of the big losses for West Virginia was tight end Anthony Becht, first-round pick of the New York Jets. You see Burton here on the corner route, and just as we were talking about the struggles that Lewis has had, he puts one right on the money to number 81. Take a look at Russell. Bumps one man back to Gillum, and there he is up top. Absolutely spikes his man as Lewis takes a shot. Watch him go down, personifying the toughness that you made reference to earlier, Steve.
21 yards on that play. Coaching staff actually thinks Burton as a sophomore might be farther ahead than Becht was as a sophomore. As flags fly, looks like it'd be a motion penalty. 5:24 left here in the third.
Dead ball, false start, offense.
So there's the penalty. Let's go to Dave Ryan now, who's somewhere beyond the end zone. Dave?
Well, Steve, just beyond the south end zone, here's the WVU weight room, and that's where Tanner Russell over the last year has worked himself back into shape. Coming off the off-season shoulder surgery where he couldn't even lift this 45-pound bar. He couldn't bench press anything. In fact, with his strength coach, he had to schedule private time. He was so embarrassed, didn't want his teammates to see him. Well, now through the 9 months of rehabilitation and tough, hard work, he's back to being the top bench presser on the WVU offensive line and the entire team. 525 pounds. Through hard work, he's in great shape once again.
I noticed Dave only got the 45-pound bar up slightly. You pick that up or not?
Well, we're not. Dave's chances of making Sydney as a power lifter aren't real good. There's an Olympic lifter, rather. Boy, I tell you what, 525, that is astonishing, especially for somebody who is that tall and that long arm. Usually your bench pressers are your short, squatty guys, so that's very impressive rehabilitation on the part of Russell.
2nd down and 10 for West Virginia. Pitch to Coburn. They had him in the backfield momentarily, but a second effort, he's able to pick up maybe a yard on the play. Let's head back to the studio and Brian Kenny.
Steve, we check back in with Nebraska, taking on San Jose State. Cornhuskers with everybody back in the backfield, not just Derek Crouch, but Dan Alexander breaking loose. 6 feet tall, 245 pounds, less than explosive speed, but he's in for the touchdown. It's 35-6.
Remember, Alexander was the one in the game that you and I had, Steve. He was the one that rushed for about 140 yards in that game. But I you know what? I know I'm getting a little bit older, but I think with Nebraska's offensive line, even I could pound out about 80. I mean, those guys just move people out.
3rd down and 11. Some question on the play calling there. So they call a timeout. West Virginia will call the timeout. That's their first. That's their second timeout. They have 1 remaining, I beg your pardon.
Well, they're down now in field goal range, and Bill Legg does not want to make a mistake here. He wants to make sure that everybody is on the same page communication-wise. It's interesting because Lewis has looked so good at times, and other times he's just really struggled, been very inaccurate. See Bill Legg right there. Talked about a number of different things. Steve, you had queried him about some numbers. You wanted to know numbers like yards or things of that nature, points, and he had this big list of things that he had. And of course, number 1 was outscore his opponent. And you and I were walking out. I said, did they need something else after that? I said, that's pretty much it, isn't it?
Down at the bottom, it said 70 yards or less in terms of minus yardage. And, you know, you hear that makes sense to me, but he counts like plays brought back after penalty. You have a 25-yard gain that's wiped out and a 15-yard penalty intact to that all adds up to 40 yards minus yards. That's a tough guy.
It is.
And they've got to be more than minus 70 to this point here today.
Absolutely.
Even though they're leading 17-7. In his first season as offensive coordinator, admitted he might have a bit of the jitters. And it'll be interesting to see what he calls here on 3rd and 11. Up by 10 as we hit the later stages of the 3rd quarter. On your 3rd and 11 now, just inside the 20. Here's Lewis. Runs around the pressure, gets around the end, and won't get away from the second white jersey.
Lenny Walls is the guy able to make the sack. It looked like he got fooled when he jumped up, but instead he comes down and is able to catch him by the shirt tail. And once again, this is a little bit of inexperience on the part of Lewis. At this point when the thing breaks down, just throw it out of bounds. He's in a vicinity to where he could have intentionally grounded the pass. Just throw the thing out of bounds, set up a, now you're looking at about a 46-yard field goal attempt. Much more difficult.
Loss of 11 on that play. Hollinger will attempt now the 46-yard field goal. Snap and the spot were good, and the field goal is up, and it is no good. And so with 3:22 to play here in the 3rd, the score remains 17-7. Gives us an opportunity for our storyline today, which is brought to you by the U.S. Army. And then you see BC struggling early in a number of categories, and the turnovers and rushing yards, and easy to see why West Virginia has a 10-point lead.
Well, and again, I think if they use wisdom here, West Virginia in particular, hope that Coburn on this hot and humid day doesn't get tired, because they've been riding his back this entire quarter.
Here's Boston College now taking over. After the missed field goal on 1st and 10, play action, Hasselbeck throwing, has a wide open target and hits him. It's Robert Ellis, the big tight end, pickup of 11.
And as you pointed out, he does something that's popular amongst the athletes today. Pumps his chest and points towards the sky, but he has more reason than most. You had documented the story earlier that they had anticipated that he's going to be the starting tight end heading into spring, but he left the team for personal reasons. Obviously, he's worked his way back to get some playing time, and that first down catch has to feel awfully good.
Ruffled some feathers with his teammates. You know, might have thought he quit on the team, but they have accepted him and taken him back. And there's Willie Green, who was slammed pretty hard. You know, we have not seen a lot of hard, direct hits, one-on-one collisions in this football game.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you've got some pretty good runners. I think it's interesting on the other side of the ball that you would say that, because I think that's one of the reasons why Coburn is so durable. On the other hand, Willie Green is somebody who just lost 15 pounds. He's around 230, went down to 215, so he'd be a little bit quicker. But I think that was one of those collisions you just made reference to.
That's why I brought it up. That was maybe the second one I can count today. On 2nd down and 6. Green. Nice move. What a move to stay inbounds. He cut it inside. He's carrying Mountaineers on his back to the 21-yard line. Willie Green.
Well, Willie Green certainly justified something that we asked Tom O'Brien about. I said, well, you know what? You got this 1,100-yard rusher. What's the deal with that? How come you got to get the other guy in the lineup? He says, trust me, we need to get him the football. He's showing why. Shows the spin there, cuts the outside. Now, this move is really cool with his stiff arm. Now he swats him to the other direction to stay in the field of play. Nice job. It was fun to watch.
Pickup of 35 yards by Green. And they give it to Cedric Washington that time, spelling Green, giving him a breather.
A couple of years ago, for Tom O'Brien's first win, they had the star runner Omari Walker, who went down with a bit of an injury, and they brought in this kid Cloud, who suddenly rushes for a ton of yards, and they get a victory. I don't know if this is another Wally Pipp situation or not, but certainly you have to like the way Green is running.
In 1998, Mike Cloud became BC's all-time leading rusher. Second-round pick of the Chiefs, and as you pointed out, doing rather nicely in the NFL. 2nd down and 7 now for Boston College. Down by 10, looking to make it closer. Here's Hasselbeck with time, puts it up in the air. The BC receiver looking for a flag. It was Keith Hemmings, the intended receiver, as Hasselbeck was dumped down.
Well, on the other side, Richard Bryant is looking for a flag because he thought he got pushed. I think it was a good non-call on the part of the officials.
Corey McIntyre is the player who banged Hasselbeck to the turf.
Hasselbeck did get whacked. And you know what? Again, Steve, we have to mention this very young secondary for the Mountaineers has held up very well here for through 3 quarters.
3rd down and 8. Hasselbeck from the shotgun throws across the middle, and there clearly was contact before the ball ever got there. That looked rather obvious. Richard Bryant and Dedrick DeWalt just bumped together. About the 2-yard line.
One thing that I do like about this, the college game, is it's going to be a yardage penalty instead of a spot. Here Bryant closes in, bumps him off the ball. Of course, you could argue the point, Steve, as the ball was quite high as to whether or not it was catchable. But on a collision like that, once the ball is right in that direction, the official has to throw the flag.
Minute 27 to play here in the 3rd as they continue to try and sort things out, and here we go.
Pass interference on the defense. 15 yards, previous spot, 1st and goal.
Now watch the ball. In your opinion, is this a catchable ball? That's always the big argument. Could DeWalt have had that? Well, in that case, it looks like he at least certainly could have got a hand at it. He deserved a shot at it. So good call by the official.
Gives Boston College a 1st and goal now from the 5-yard line. 2 tight ends. DeWalt split out to the right. Out of the eye. They're passing. Hasselbeck off the play action. Touchdown, Boston College.
And that's a great call by Dana Bible. Been running the ball with Green. They've got him on their heels. The crowd is booing. The Mountaineers a little discombobulated. Don't just run it in there for a 2-yard gain. Instead, they go with the play action on 1st down when people don't expect it. Coming up with the catch. That's a great call on the part of Dana Bible, offensive coordinator for Boston College.
And a real welcome back for Robert Ellis.
There you go. Man, that's got to be exciting.
Mike Sutphin is on to attempt the extra point. Trying to make this a 3-point football game. And Sutphin boots it through. West Virginia had a 17-0 lead. Boston College gets a late touchdown in the first half. They pick up another score here in the third. And Boston College very much alive here on opening day for Morgantown. Welcome back. 3-point football game. That 17-0 lead West Virginia had has all but disappeared with 1:22 to play in the third, following the Robert Ellis touchdown catch. 17-14 West Virginia. Mike Sutphin off the tee will kick it away. Sean Terry for West Virginia. Deep in his end zone will take a knee, and the Mountaineers will start 1st and 10 from their own 20. Back to the studio. Here's Brian Kenny.
Steve, let's get back to Penn State and Akron. Rashard Casey with a very rough day, of course, dealing with the offseason arrest and not dealing well with the Akron defense here. Scrambling, looking, nothing yet. Of course, very good on his feet. Could not get it going against Toledo here. Matt Seneca, redshirt sophomore, is now in at quarterback for Joe Paterno. Toledo leading Penn State 24-6. 10 minutes to go.
All right, Brian, thanks. Heard earlier, Lee Corso saying he wouldn't be shocked by an effort like that. We'll see what Toledo's doing today. We'll keep it posted there. It's Avon Coburn trying to carry out ahead, pickup of 3 yards on the play. You're watching college football. Get into the pro game. NFL Countdown is back tomorrow morning. Started off with the best pregame show in the business at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Chris and the gang. And they'll welcome Steve Young to the fold, one of your good buddies, Todd. That's Sunday, 11 a.m., 8 Pacific. The best in the business get even better on NFL Countdown. Final minute to play now, as Coburn is exactly 100 yards, plus now. 107 yards now.
Hey, all right.
On his 24th carry of the afternoon before Doug Bassett brought him down for BC.
Well, it goes without saying that if indeed there is a comparison between the two, you had pointed out early on that there was only 12 yards separating them last year as the #1 and #2 rushers in the Big East. Clearly, Coburn is getting the best of it today, as you see the numbers. Washington just can't seem to get started as the front seven of West Virginia has been fairly dominant. Although, as I say that, let's not forget that William Green came in and tore off some big chunks of yardage to get BC right back in this game.
After the first down, it's Sean Terry up to the right side. Antonio Brown, I beg your pardon, out to the right side. And it looks like I'm close to another he's got another first down. 12 yards on the play.
Antonio Brown showing that speed. That's one thing you just can't teach. Still 4.18. That sounds like cat speed to me. That's just so bizarre. Frank Spaziani having his hands full with the wideouts for West Virginia. And, of course, Avon Coburn, who, as you pointed out, already over the century mark.
And with the wideouts running the football, Brown now 3 carries for 33 yards.
What is that per rush?
Something like your 11 on 11.
Beautiful, beautiful.
We're talking about before.
You're the man.
Oh, we're meshing. Only week 1. It's hard to believe. Like it was just yesterday we were on the Fiesta Bowl on ESPN Radio. Hand off again to Coburn. Not much there that time. And that should be the final play of quarter number 3. That'll do it. We'll come back. Should be a thrilling fourth quarter from Morgantown. West Virginia leads BC 17-14. A big part of Boston College's success last season, they went 5-2 in games decided by 10 points or less. And it's the old cliche, good teams win the close games. And here we are in a 3-point football game on a 2nd and 12 upcoming as we open up quarter number 4. The end of the summer. Hope you're enjoying your holiday weekend. Let's be smart out there, folks. On 2nd and 12 off the play action. Here's Lewis rolling around, trying to escape 4 white jerseys. And he is forced out of bounds, and there'll be a loss on the play.
Once again, Steve, there's a situation where he just needs to throw the ball away. Just throw the ball away. You're outside of the tackles. That's something that he's going to have to learn. I'm sure that Bill Legg will teach him. Finally, no more negative yardage in terms of Boston College. Give William Green a lot of credit for that big number there. The 55 that you see there, which is Not huge stats by any stretch, but there it is. And that's been helpful to Boston College. And it seems strange, the feel of this game. West Virginia seemingly dominated the game,
right,
up in yards and everything else, time of possession. But you look up at the scoreboard, there's only a difference of 3.
And not to be fooled, if you're just joining us, those 3 BC turnovers all came rather early. They've been pretty good since then, getting back in the football game. Here's Lewis, all sorts of time, and took too much of it. Scott Bradley got him from behind, and I guess that was one of those coverage-type sacks. He had plenty of time to throw the football.
He certainly did. Bradley does a great job, though, of being persistent. Here he is on the outside. You can see him come up the field. Actually, it's a pretty good job of blocking him, holding him out, as you pointed out, Steve, on the part of Matt Wilson. But finally, it just breaks down, and you can't sit back there for 5 or 6 seconds.
Bradley had 5 sacks last season, second on the club, only to the great Chris Hovan. And the punt to Dedrick DeWalt, bounces on him. Won't have an opportunity to make a big play. And West Virginia will down it at the 15-yard line, and that's where BC will start deep in their own territory.
The last drive, the key play certainly in getting Boston College their touchdown, was the part of William Green. Cuts inside, spins to the outside. Sherrod comes over, he stiff arms him, then does a great job of tight roping the sidelines. Great feet on the part of Green, and that really gave the Eagles a lift as they were to get downfield. And of course, Hasselbeck puts the nice pass on the hands of Ellis to get them in the end zone. Green, surprisingly, on the sidelines here with an average of 7 yards per carry. See, I think as well as he was doing, he'd be in here because Washington, frankly, hasn't done anything.
After the 50-yard punt by Fazzolari, who's been one of the stars for West Virginia, BC takes over. Here's Hasselbeck scrambling away from trouble. And his pass is nearly caught. Good coverage on the play. Ryan Reed, the intended receiver.
And once again, it was King who was able to break it up. That's a very catchable ball, and it's a great job by Hasselbeck scrambling around, buying time. But he just couldn't hang on to it.
Reed had a pretty good kid in high school throwing him footballs. A guy by the name of Drew Brees at Westlake High School in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, he's all right.
They're going to have a pretty good college career.
How did he ever get out of Texas?
That's amazing.
It is.
Minute into quarter number 4. Out of the shotgun on 2nd and 10. Here's Hasselbeck, steps up into the pocket now, feeling the pressure. Nice little touch pass is completed. The first down of the tight end, Mike Guazzo, and I know you love that, Todd. And so too does Dave Ryan. Dave?
Well, guys, it's a big game for Robert Ellis, the BC tight end. Now, before spring ball, Ellis left the team, went home to Baytown, Texas for personal reasons. He came back to campus, watched the spring game from the stands, asked Coach Tom O'Brien, can I come back to the team? The coach went right to the seniors and Tim Hasselbeck. Said, it's your decision. Tim Hasselbeck said Robert Ellis didn't make a lot of friends when he left, but he worked hard. From 4th string up to 2nd string tight end, he's made some big plays in this game today. A key part of the BC attack.
This keeps up for BC. He'll likely be pretty popular back at the Heights after that touchdown catch earlier. And there, the quarterback Hasselbeck throwing it away, and the crowd wanting a flag for intentional grounding. David Upchurch had the pressure.
Crowd not understanding the rule that once he's outside and that close to the sidelines, outside of the tackles, he can do exactly that. Now, strangely enough, Steve, we pointed out the fact that on the other side of the ball, Lewis evidently is not cognizant of the rule because he's cost them some yardage negatively.
The last play prior to the punt that put him in all that trouble. He lost 2 trying to escape trouble.
I'll tell you what, the pass protection for Boston College has been outstanding. That was a good 7-8 seconds he was scrambling around back there.
3 seniors on that BC offensive line that could have futures playing on Sunday. Here's Hasselbeck now, throws the floater up in the air, and there comes the flag.
It's going to be offensive, Steve. It's going to be offensive interference on the part of DeWalt. And once again, that 11-on-11 situation goes to Brian King.
Very impressed by the crowd here. They throw the flag. The normal thought is, oh, it's got to be against the defense. They knew right away it was offensive pass interference.
Well, I think DeWalt did too. He saw the ball was over his head, and it looked like King had a sure interception, so he gets in his way. And it's interesting, Steve, I like that call for a lot of reasons, and one of them in particular is because defensive backs
against the offense. 15 yards in the previous spot remains 2nd down.
Cornerbacks in particular have arguably the most difficult task on the field. I mean, you know, you just bump a guy, it seems like you're going to get a flag. And so I'm sure that King has justified the fact that he was in the position to make the interception and get that to go the other direction.
It's amazing, as a former offensive player, you're so kind to defensive backs.
Well, I like to think that I've matured with my years, Steve.
A lot of years there.
Ouch.
And 2nd and 25. You saw the comparison. Here's Hasselbeck putting it up. Picked off. Clean pick by West Virginia. Sean Hackett. Touchdown. Mountaineers. Pick clean. Wasn't a white shirt in the area. And Hackett runs it into the end zone. 40 yards on the return for the touchdown for West Virginia.
Steve, one of the reasons why they're getting such great pass protection is because they've only had 2 people in the routes. As a result of that, as you're here holding against the offense, which will certainly be refused. This is either, in fairness to Hasselbeck, it's easy to say maybe it was a poor throw, but I think that he was anticipating a corner route on the part of his receiver, and he just wasn't in the vicinity. Because it certainly wasn't pressure.
John Oliger is on to attempt the extra point. And that has gotten the crowd right back in this football game. They nearly saw their Mountaineers blow a 17-0 lead. But the interception return for the touchdown. And the extra point is good. Sean Hackett, a 41-yard interception return for a touchdown. And West Virginia has that 10-point lead back. West Virginia under Don Nehlen now 16-3-1 in home openers, and looking to add to that, they get the big play by Sean Hackett, the junior from Trenton, New Jersey, on the 41-yard touchdown of the interception return. And West Virginia's got their 10-point lead back.
Have you ever noticed, too, when they make a big play, I don't know, that just entertains the heck out of me. They come to the sidelines, and he's on the headset. Hopefully he's being congratulated.
Todd James kicks it away. Jonathan Ordway deep in the end zone takes a knee. And BC will open up 1st and 10 from the 20.
Sometimes you got a situation here where you're going to have the 2 receivers come down. He's going to throw the ball here into the corner, and it's a timing route. But unfortunately, the receivers are not where they're supposed to be. A closer look gives you the opportunity to see that there, Dedrick DeWalt and Hemmings collide. Hemmings is supposed to be out into the corner, but any way you look at it, in the case of Hasselbeck, that's a poor throw there. Just way too many blue shirts. Hackett able to come up with a gift and go the distance for 6.
We were praising West Virginia, how good their inexperienced secondary had been playing. Then the game gets close and tightens up, and you thought, hey, maybe some nerves would come into play. And then they respond with a pick for a touchdown. Here's Willie Green, who's been the best running back for Boston College this afternoon. He's out close to a 1st down. David Carter made the tackle.
See, that's a very good point. And when you consider the fact that up to this point here we are 12:48 in the clock running in the 4th quarter, and BC has only thrown for 129 passing yards, and you've got an experienced quarterback like Hasselbeck, you have to give kudos to that young secondary of the Mountaineers.
Field position will be looked at should BC lose this one. They started only once beyond their own 30. That's incredible. The defense puts a stick there on Green, led by Corey McIntyre.
Edmonds, number 42, in on it as well. And Edmonds has shown that he is a very multifaceted linebacker. Remember, he had an interception. He rushes. He forces the fumble. I mean, he is a terrific. He is what they made reference to at Corey Moore at Virginia Tech. He's a disruptor. He's somebody that offensive coordinators in the Big East are going to have to be very aware of as the schedule proceeds.
Richard Bryan is out on the field for West Virginia, urging the crowd to pick it up. Let's get into it here. West Virginia has been in the top 2 in attendance in the 9 years of the Big East, starting in '91. That play is batted away. And they were expecting upwards of 60,000 here this afternoon. Dewan Daniels was the intended receiver.
That was a play earlier that they were able to get for a 1st down, but West Virginia was waiting on it. It appeared to me that the left guard moved. I thought the play was going to be dead, but it was not. The result is 4th, and they're going to have to punt. Everything's going the Mountaineers' way.
Antonio Brown is deep at the 25. Kevin McMiler will punt it away. Low snap, goes down to get it and boots it. And here's Brown. Another fair catch there from Antonio Brown. He's done that a number of times today when it would appear there was running room for him, electing to go with the fair catch. Well, Sunday Night Football is back for you here on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern. It'll be the Tennessee Titans against the Buffalo Bills. Todd, have you seen this play before?
You mean the one where he throws on the 19, the guy catches it on the 21? Yeah, I've seen it.
The Music City Miracle, although it's not referred to that in Buffalo. It's the third season of NFL football on ESPN, a rematch of that great and controversial 99 AFC playoff game. Cooper Rigo is the ball carrier for West Virginia, and there's a flag on the play.
Boston College jumped offside, so they'll be able to get those 5 yards.
Let's go to the field and Dave Ryan. Dave?
Well, Steve, the WVU sideline alive and well following the big play from Sean Hackett, the pick, and then the return for a touchdown. Really put a big charge into the crowd, as Todd mentioned, and into the bench down here. It's the second time in this game defense has made big plays to create some momentum for the Mountaineers. In the first half, it was all Chris Edmonds. Sean Hackett in the second half.
You know, we talk about a bounce-back season by West Virginia, but specifically the defense. I said it before, Nealon said that was the worst defense in 20 years he had last season. So they're really trying. I think they felt like they were pushed around on the field, not just the BC game last year, but throughout the season, and had more than their feelings hurt. And they've toughened up here, at least in the opener, to this point. Now trying to get it going on offense while keeping that clock moving. It's Rigo again. Jonathan Ordway brought him down.
Well, I think the point that Steve Dunlap made in supporting your point, Steve, was the physicality was missing. They weren't knocking people around. Instead, as you pointed out, getting knocked around, and that's not supposed to happen to a West Virginia defense. At least it hadn't happened until last year. You can see their rushing defense over the last 4 years. Not a good thing there. They go from a tremendous second in 1996, as we pointed out, nearly 200 yards a game in 99. But today, they've only given up 80 yards rushing.
And they have yet to turn it over, and here's Rigo bursting up the middle. Cooper Rigo having himself a ball game. Willie Poole finally brought him down after the gain of 38 right up the gut.
This is a nice call by Bill Legg, and the reason I say that, not just because of the yardage, but because, remember, this is the play that they had used earlier to Antonio Brown, handing him the ball coming around. This time, everybody's waiting on Brown. Watch Brown sprint by. Everybody thinks he's going to get the ball. They're waiting on him. The people in the interior are unaware of the pass that Rigo was long past. Great call and good misdirection on the part of the offensive front for West Virginia.
There's Bill Legg. Off to a pretty good start as an offensive coordinator, you'd have to say. First time since 1989 he hasn't been on the field. Going upstairs. And they keep it on the ground to Rigo, and why not? Halfway to another first down. What's happening with Ole Miss and Tulane? We find out from Brian Kenny.
Steve, Conference USA with its shot in the spotlight today, taking on the SEC in 4 games here. It's 21-17 Ole Miss. Tulane driving, trying to get it back. Oh no, Pat Ramsey to Kerwin Cook, batted up in the air. Kenny Woods would bring it all the way back in for a touchdown. So Ole Miss breaking this one up on top. And they have the lead right now. It's 35-17, and it's over. Penn State is 0-2. Toledo beats the Nittany Lions.
All right, Brian, thank you for both updates now, as Antonio Brown carries the football, and he's knocked out of bounds, they'll say, at the 10-yard line. The clock is stopped with 9:33 to play here in the fourth. West Virginia up 10 and looking for more.
Now, at the beginning of the season, if you'd have told me that Toledo was going to beat Penn State,
what would you have said? You haven't been all that good at predicting things today.
No, I haven't. That's astonishing.
Right.
I think the SC thing may have been predictable because SC has a lot of people coming back. That's a very good football team. But losing to Toledo, a lot of people in State College aren't very happy. And the game was in State College. That's right. Wow.
3rd and 2. That game is seen over on ESPN 2. As a matter of fact. Hand off to Rigo. Not much there. But it keeps the clock moving.
Great penetration on the part of Andy Romanowski, even though the tackle ended up being made by Mizzarelli. Romanowski forces the ball, and now they're going to have to attempt another field goal. Surprising to think that West Virginia, as successful as they were inside the 20,
From the 22.
they'd be 4-7. Just goes to show their lies.
32-yard field goal attempt is up and on the way, and it is good. John Ollinger boots it through, his second field goal of the game. 27-14, West Virginia up here in the fourth.
ESPN's presentation of college football is brought to you by Gigo.com. We've got this car thing down. And by Gateway. Call 1-800-GATEWAY.
Back in Morgantown, Boston College actually arrived in the area late last night, about 10:30 last night. That is late. They had an emergency landing in Pittsburgh, the charter flight for BC. They didn't realize it was an emergency landing until they actually landed. The plane evidently was leaking some hydraulic fluid, and there were fire trucks and ambulances all around. They're playing. That's enough to scare some folks even when you are on the ground. It's been one bad thing after another for Boston College here in the Big East opener. Down 13 now with 8:52 to play here in fourth quarter action. Todd James will kick it away. And it's Willie Green from his goal line. He's made some things happen. He won't make anything happen there as he goes one-on-one with James Davis.
You the man. You are the man.
Some of the hitting starting to pick up now here in the fourth.
I always love that 40 yards away. Yeah, that's right. I got something for you.
Well, that's the freshman kicker, true freshman kicker, and they were really concerned about him. They said, look, we have no idea what he's going to do with nerves and everything, but he's been just fine. And here's BC. Hasselbeck will dump it off to the right side to Cedric Washington. Nothing doing there. He's surrounded by four blue shirts, led by Sean Hackett, who had that 41-yard touchdown off the interception return earlier.
Well, now the front seven for West Virginia can pretty much pin their ears back and come forward. Not an enviable position for Hasselbeck to be in now. Trying to bring him back from 2 touchdowns down.
On second down and 12 after the loss by 2. Here's Cedric Washington grinding it out for maybe 3 or 4 on the play. McIntyre in the middle making the stop for West Virginia.
I'm really surprised at the struggles for Boston College in particular. And I say this, Steve, I realize that they have to travel, and as you just pointed out, had a very discomforting landing with the airplane. But because they're primarily a running team and they had so many veteran people back on offense, I really thought that they were going to get something going today, and it just has not happened.
I agree. And that West Virginia inexperienced secondary has to feel pretty good about themselves. 3rd and 8. We'll see how they feel after this play. Here's Hasselbeck out of the shotgun now. All sorts of time. Dumps it across the middle. And it's picked off! Picked off Grant Wiley! Touchdown, West Virginia! The redshirt freshman, Grant Wiley, went off Washington's hands. He couldn't handle it. Wiley corralled it. And for the second time this afternoon, Hasselbeck is picked off, and it's run back for 6.
Well, in fairness to Hasselbeck, obviously that's not his fault. Washington makes the catch, makes the move, and he's going to have the first down. He's not able to focus on the ball, and Wiley, as we pointed out at the top, Steve, the redshirt freshman who was replacing arguably their best defensive player last year in Barrett Green, comes up with a very exciting touchdown on national TV.
Here's Ollinger to boot it through for the extra point. It's good. And it's all West Virginia. They've opened up a 20-point lead. Welcome back. Morgantown is just jumping with West Virginia out in front by 20. BC's turned it over 5 times. West Virginia not once. And who were those guys, I don't know, some 3 hours ago talking about the inexperienced secondary for the Mountaineers?
Well, and again, the big play here, as you can see, Wiley, a redshirt freshman. But in fairness, again, in fairness to Hasselbeck, who has 3 interceptions, that certainly wasn't his fault. Very catchable ball by Cedric Washington.
We also pointed out at the top that in the last 20 openers for West Virginia, they've averaged 34 points.
Wow.
Bingo. They've hit it again. That'll keep that average right around there then.
Yes, yes, it would.
And we could see the quarterback, St. Pierre, who normally just plays a series in the second quarter. But maybe when you get down by 20 in the fourth, you throw that theory out. Off the kickoff, Daniels from his goal line, looking to make something happen for Boston College. And they'll start now on 1st and 10, getting late in the football game. And the home opener was really important for West Virginia, not just because it's the rare in-conference home opener to start, but because they've got 7 home games this season. A lot of marquee teams will come in, a lot of really tough teams.
And as you pointed out last year, they had their 4 wins, all of those wins at home. This is a very difficult place to play. They have a definite home field advantage here. And in a couple of weeks, I know that Miami is coming here, and I thought that was just going to be a lock for Miami, but after watching them today, I like their chances, especially on this field.
Notre Dame will come a-calling in a little bit as well. And this was looked at as well, one of the tough home games. West Virginia played all the tough teams on the road, according to their coaching staff, last season. Now they get some payback getting them all at their place this season as William Green carries. And there is a look at what you'd have to consider really a challenging home schedule.
Certainly. But, of course, just as challenging is if you have to go on the road against some of these teams. Of course, they do have a road game against Virginia Tech, which won't be a lot of fun. But still, 7 home games, really beneficial.
Now, how angry will Don Nehlen be after winning the home opener in a conference game about the scheduling? Probably not. Now it's a great thing to have when you win the football game. You're already up in conference play.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We talked about that yesterday, the fact that everybody was fussing about it, but I knew right then that 24 hours later, whoever won, great decision.
6.5 to play here in the fourth. That'll bring up a 3rd down and 6.
Well, there are a lot of things that Don Nehlen has a reason to be happy about, but 2 things in particular. One happens to be the fact that this guy, his kicking game seems to be in a lot better order than he thought it was going to be. And, of course, he's got to be thrilled with the way his defense played, particularly the secondary.
How about the swings in this one? West Virginia had a 17-0 lead. Then it was 17-14. 17 more unanswered points by the Mountaineers. Hasselbeck trying to throw for the first down. Incomplete. Keith Hemmings was his intended receiver. I beg your pardon, Brian St. Pierre, the quarterback, in for Boston College. 4th and 6, and BC will punt it away. Kevin McMyler standing at his own 10. Antonio Brown at the 30, set to receive it. Spiraling punt. See if he calls for the fair catch. And he does again. The 36-yard line after the 40-yard punt. There is a flag on the play.
After the kick, we have a dead ball, late hit, receiving team, 15 yards. It will be 1st and 10.
One of the exciting things about special teams for West Virginia today has been the play of Quentin Swain. Their kick cover person will get a chance to look at it after this play. Some of the coverage that he's had, the excitement that he's enjoyed in his first collegiate game.
Hey, and we'll watch for late hits. Again, last year when this game got out of hand, there were a couple of late hits, some so late they weren't even called. And as this game opens up with a 20-point bulge right now, we'll watch for that again.
Check out number 51. We talked about special teams and how significant they are in college football. Downfield, is he close? Nah, he just jumps over the pile. Not that time. That was his first play as a collegiate. Then strips the ball a little bit, but a flag goes down and it doesn't count. Finally, in this situation, the last kickoff, he is in on the tackle on DeJuan Daniels. The Miami, Florida native. Had a fairly productive day, I'd say.
1st and 10 now for West Virginia. They figure to keep it on the ground here. It's Avon Coburn on the carry for 2 yards as the clock churns down to 5:45 and counting.
I'm surprised that he's in the game. I know that they switch back and forth with Rigo and himself, but obviously Coburn is the stone star of the Mountaineers. You would think that he'd be out of the game now. Game well in hand. He's their star player. But oh, I'm sorry, I just heard something. Evidently his mother makes the point that he has to have a certain amount of carries. And so that's why he's back.
I wonder if 27 is the number. 27 carries for 119 yards for Coburn. So we'll add that. That's carry number 28 on the afternoon.
Well, I got to get you know what, I have to give his mother credit. She's been animated from the first to the last. You know, sometimes it can be fair weather on the big runs, big deal, but instead, every single time you can see she's oh yeah, now she's shy.
Where's her Sports Center is next sign?
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, that's only if you're trying to get on TV. She doesn't need any help in that department.
No, she has reason to be proud.
Here's your 3rd down and 6. Lewis from the shotgun. The pass for the first down. Wide open man. There's a seam in the middle of Corey Ivy. And he's got the first down, and flags come late after the 16-yard gain.
Brad Lewis to Corey Ivy.
This could start getting a little nasty. Again, I think this goes back to last year's game in Chestnut Hill.
Yeah, I think it does. I think there is something to be said for that. But by the same token, that is a year removed. And from year to year at the collegiate ranks, it's completely different people. And so this will come back. Nice catch. It was a nice catch on the part of Ivy. Showing good hands, reaching back for the ball.
We wait for the official call.
It's one of the few times today that Don Nealon has had to complain about anything.
Again, as we count down the final few minutes here, keep in mind NFL Countdown comes your way tomorrow. Chris Berman and the gang and the best in the business get even better. They'll welcome Steve Young to the studio at the Worldwide Leader. Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific.
5 yards from the previous spot.
The only way to start your Sunday morning right here on ESPN with NFL Countdown.
Late hit on the offense. That 15-yard penalty is tagged on to the receiving spot, remains 3rd down.
Yeah, here come the personal fouls, and that's no good for anyone. Again, we mentioned there was some trash newspapers this week. Corey McIntyre of West Virginia was quoted as saying, hey, we want to make them crawl out of here. And now with the outcome really not in doubt, up 20 with 5 minutes to play, I guess this is not unexpected. And there is Corey. The 3rd and 26 upcoming. Getting ready to put the chin strap up tight, get back out on the field. Pitch to the right side to Coburn. Across the 20, the 25. He's well short of the first down, but it'll give him some more room to work with. And here's Dave Ryan. Dave.
All right, Steve. Todd Christensen said a moment ago, Lottie Benton, Avon Coburn's mom, the most enthusiastic mother out there. Are you yelling the loudest for your son?
Yes, I am. Very loud. I love my son.
He had kind of an unusual upbringing with really 3 different families, his grandmother, yourself, and the Mebs who became his guardians. How difficult was that for him to grow up and still play football?
For Avon, it was real easy because he worked real hard to do what he wanted to do. This was his future. This is what he wanted. And I made sure that he got it. That's why he went with the Mebs. And they are lovely people. I love them because without them, my son wouldn't be here. And I'm so happy about that.
See ya.
It's great to see him. I love my son.
Steve and Ty, we know she'll enjoy the rest of this one.
Yeah.
Back to you.
All right, thanks very much to Walt on the return there. And so Boston College will get the football back after the 56-yard punt. And there's the matchup. We talked about the 2 big backs separated by only 12 yards a season ago. 1-2 in the Big East in rushing. And Avon's been calling today.
It's been his day, no doubt about it. 134 yards against a pretty decent Boston College defense, and for whatever reason, it just wasn't Washington's day. Not only the poor day rushing, but again, that bobbled reception that turned into a touchdown going the other direction.
Coburn came into this season as the 5th leading returning rusher in the nation. LaDainian Tomlinson of TCU came in #1. Here's BC now. We'll see what they have to and try to get back in this football game or make it more respectable. St. Pierre's intended pass well out of the reach of Kenny Gaskins, the junior wide receiver.
Well, that's indicative of how poorly things have gone for Boston College today. Misdirection. Everybody is fooled. The man's wide open by 8 yards, and you can't get him the ball. Boston College certainly this week is going to have to go back to the drawing board.
They play at Army next, then have a week off, take on Navy at Chestnut Hill at Alumni, and then host Virginia Tech. Better be ready by then. Handing out to the right side. It's Derek Knight on the carry, trying to cut it around the end. Picks up 13 on the play for the first down.
Steve, both Boston College and West Virginia with their reserves and now giving them an opportunity to play. We talked earlier about the opportunity that St. Pierre had with the 1 series in the second period. I think this is a good chance for him too. Get a feel of the game. Just anymore, it's difficult for a single quarterback to make an entire season without getting nicked up somehow.
And BC will keep it on the ground. They'll try the left side this time. Nothing doing. It's Knight again. The redshirt freshman out of Westwood, Massachusetts. Kyle Caden made the stop. There's more great college football action for you coming up tonight over on ESPN2. See the Battle of Colorado at 6 Eastern. Always fun when those two schools get together. Then here on ESPN, a couple of ranked clubs. Southern Miss visits Tennessee, and then Arizona, Utah at 9 Eastern. ESPN.com, a part of the Go Network, go.com. A triple header of more great college football coming up for you tonight on ESPN and ESPN2. Tried Knight on the draw. Grant Wiley is there. Wiley having himself quite a fine football game. Had the pick for the score. A couple of run stops. Good in the coverage as well.
On the other side of the line, however, Tim Hasselbeck has not had a particularly good day. 3 interceptions, and comes to the sideline still making the calls, still being involved. Pretty good pedigree there with his father, who played professionally, and of course his older brother now. The backup to Brett Favre in Green Bay.
3rd down and 12 now for Brian St. Pierre, the sophomore. And the flag flies. The play clock had expired. The delay a game. Understandable with the inexperience in the BC offense.
Dead ball, delay of game offense. 5 yards, still 3rd down.
As we approach 3:30 Eastern time, you think they would have delayed this game enough. Coming up just as soon as we finish up here in Morgantown, the NASCAR Duralube 200. Part of the Busch Series, of course. That's coming up next right here on ESPN. After the penalty, 3rd and 17. Hand off tonight to the right side, and James Davis made the stop.
I was thinking the Knight came into the game, Steve, thinking to himself, all right, I'm going to get my stats, get a couple of yards instead. A lot of the second teamers for West Virginia playing just as hard as the first.
And those fans that I've remained here, and crowd about 50,000 on their feet, cheering on what was really thought to be a weak link, the defense for West Virginia. They've played very strong game today. Here's Antonio Brown. Did he fair catch that one as well? Yes, I did. I believe he did. Okay, West Virginia up 20. Final 2 minutes here. Antonio Brown in West Virginia with every reason to smile this afternoon. They're going to be 1-0 on the season, 1-0 in the Big East as well.
He and Edgerrin James go to the same dentist, I guess.
It's working for Edgerrin James.
Yeah, I'll say.
New quarterback in the game for West Virginia. It's Scott McBrien, the redshirt freshman from Rockville, Maryland. And West Virginia will keep it on the ground. We're seeing everybody. They're emptying the benches here. Terrence Johnson on the carry there.
Scott McBrien, the left-hander, was actually in the spring. They talked about the fact that he might actually be competing for the job, but in the summer, the word from Coach Nealon is that Lewis had separated himself from McBrien and established himself as a starter.
A reminder for those of you just tuning in for NASCAR, it is coming up, the Duralube 200 from the Busch Series. That is on the way. Just as soon as the final 90 seconds or so tick off the brand new scoreboard here at Mountaineer Field. I mean, they were putting on the finishing touches late yesterday afternoon. I think they're still working on the video part of it, but the left side of the scoreboard apparently works just fine.
You mean our cameras weren't on there? Did I miss that?
No.
Oh.
Well, Don Nealon, we thought was concerned that his players might be watching the highlights up on the board. That's one concern he didn't have to worry about today. Might have to worry about it for the next home game. 6 more games here in Morgantown. He's always had bounce-back seasons. His previous 20, he's only had 4 losing seasons. The previous 3 times he's come back with a winning season each time, 2 of the 3 with bowl victories.
And you look at those numbers there, Steve, and you say to yourself, who had the nerve to fly an airplane over this stadium last year and say Nealon's got to go? I mean, the guy has been tremendous for West Virginia football.
Keep it on the ground, keep the clock moving. Nealon joked with us as well. He said, listen, I get all my speaking engagements done prior to the season. Because you never know how the season's going to go. But right now, I'd say he's in line for a rather lucrative speaking engagement, at least for another week, right?
There you go.
They'll be 1-0 after this one, and 1-0 in the conference. We cannot stress that enough. For Boston College, and they have to be somewhat concerned. If this is the final score, they will have lost their last 3 ball games, if you date back to last season, by a combined 78 points. The season finale, the bowl game, and here the opening. BC was trying to use those last 2 games last season as motivation to show just how good you have to be. And it obviously has not helped today. And the final 20 seconds will tick off. The final score here in Morgantown. 34-14, West Virginia is victorious. For Todd Christensen and Dave Ryan, this is Steve Levy. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, tune in to ESPN.com, your home for college football on the internet. Now stay tuned for NASCAR and the Busch Series Duralube 200. West Virginia well on their way to bouncing back. Good afternoon.